Chapter 227. 3 hours later, Lu Ming arrived at a desolate plain. Not even a blade of grass could be seen. In the middle of the plain, there was a large pit with a radius of more than 100 meters. Standing at the edge and looking down, one could see that the pit was filled with caves. Occasionally, one could see a few blood ants crawling in and out. This was the blood ants' nest. Lu Ming sat cross-legged beside the pit, waiting for the others to arrive. Only 3 days had passed. There were still 7 days before the blood ants' secret realm closed. Lu Ming cultivated while waiting. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. During these 5 days, not a single person came. Lu Ming was not in a hurry. He knew very well that in the first 7 to 8 days, everyone would be in other places, looking for opportunities and hunting blood ants. They would only rush to the blood ants' nest in the last 2 days to try their luck. In a swamp, corpses of blood ants were lying on the ground. The eggs in their abdomens had all disappeared. "Let's go to the blood ants' nest." With a light shout, a young man with a cold and arrogant expression rushed out of the swamp and towards the blood ants' nest. Behind him were more than 10 young men. In a mountain peak, a long howl could be heard. "Let's go to the blood ants' nest." Soon after, more than 10 figures leaped towards the blood ants' nest. In a large valley, more than 10 students from the general hall were surrounded by more than 30 disciples from the Decimo Sword faction. "Decimo Sword faction, must you be so ruthless?" A student from the general hall shouted in despair. "Nonsense, I already said that if we meet you from the general hall, we will kill without mercy." "Kill." More than 30 young experts from the Decimo Sword faction surrounded and killed more than 10 students from the general hall. There was no suspense at all. Not long after, more than 10 corpses appeared in the valley. "Humph, what bullshit general hall. Just a bunch of mobs. It's a pity that we didn't meet that Tianyun. Otherwise, we could have received Elder Qiu Wuji's reward." A young man with a majestic figure sneered. "Senior Brother Gao, that Tianyun is lucky. If he were to meet you, he would definitely be trampled under your feet within 10 moves. I wonder which senior brother would be so lucky to meet Tianyun." Yes. However, in my opinion, that Tianyun must have found a place to hide. As long as he hides until the secret realm closes and rushes out at the last moment, he will be safe. It's safe. Even if he didn't die in the blood ant mystic realm, we can still kill him when we get out. At the side, the other disciples of the 10 Directions Sword sect flattered him. Senior Brother Gao laughed so hard that he couldn't close his mouth. After a while he said, "All right, that Tianyun is quite capable. Even if I encounter him, it will take me some effort. It will take me at least a dozen moves. Let's set off now and go to the blood ants' nest. There are great opportunities there. Go." Then, they also headed towards the blood ant nest. In a mountain forest, a shocking sword chi swept across. More than a dozen huge blood ants were cut in half by a single sword chi. Among them, there was even a class 3 LV7 blood ant. A figure appeared. It was Yang Zaitian. His eyes were like lightning and his aura was terrifying. With a wave of his hand, a large string of blood ant eggs flew into his hand. "After so many days, my cultivation has finally broken through. Now, it's time to go to the blood ant nest. I will empty the nest and obtain a large number of blood refining pills to accumulate blood chi. In the future, I will definitely awaken the king bloodline and trample the 6 heroes of the burning sun under my feet." Yang Zaitian's eyes were full of arrogance and confidence. Then, his figure flashed and he headed towards the blood ant nest. Beside the blood ant nest, Lu Ming, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly raised his eyebrows and opened his eyes. In the distance, more than a dozen figures were rushing towards him. Finally, someone is here. Lu Ming's face broke into a smile. There were a total of 12 people. At first glance, he could tell that they were disciples of the 10 Directions Sword sect. In a short while, the 12 of them approached the blood ant nest. "That is Tianyun." When the 12 of them saw Tianyun, their faces changed slightly and they stopped. They did not approach him. Instead, they were a little wary. Among them, there were no strong experts, and they had seen Lu Ming's combat strength. They were no match for him. Tianyun, it turns out that you have been hiding here these days. You really know how to choose a place. No wonder so many disciples of the Decimo Sword Sect could not find you. A disciple of the Decimo Sword Sect shouted. Hiding here? Lu Ming said with a faint smile on his face. You can say that. Well, cut the crap. Now, hand over your storage rings. What? You want us to hand over our storage rings? The 12 disciples of the Decimo Sword Sect were stunned. Nonsense. Don't you understand human language? I'm robbing you. Hand over your storage rings and you'll live. Otherwise, you'll have to stay here forever. Lu Ming said coldly. Tianyun, how dare you? We didn't find trouble with you. You actually want to rob our storage rings. Outrageous. The 12 disciples of the Decimo Sword Sect were in disbelief. Could it be that Lu Ming was waiting here just to rob them? How dare he do that? Bang! Lu Ming was too lazy to talk nonsense with them. He directly attacked. His figure was like a bolt of lightning, instantly arriving above the 12 people. The demon-suppressing spear shook and turned into 12 spear shadows, blasting towards the 12 people. Tianyun, don't think that we are afraid of you. Let's kill him together. The 12 people roared and attacked together. 12 attacks blasted towards Lu Ming. Bang! Bang! There was a roar and the earth exploded. The 12 people screamed. Half of their bodies were blown into the ground. They vomited blood and looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. Although there were no top geniuses among the 12 of them who comprehended force, they were not ordinary martial artists. However, the 12 of them were as weak as babies in the hands of Lu Ming. They could not resist at all. With just one move, they were blasted half to death. Now, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the 5th level of the martial master realm. The true dragon battle art had broken through to the 4th level. Coupled with the demon-suppressing spear's weight of more than 10,000 kilograms, the power of a casual spear strike was astonishing. It was not something that ordinary people could block. What about now? Are you going to hand over your storage rings or not? Lu Ming looked down at the 12 youths of the Decimo Sword Sect. Yes, we will hand them over. The 12 youths shouted and took off the storage rings in their hands and handed them to Lu Ming. Lu Ming put them away with a smile and waved his hand, saying, "Get lost." The 12 people struggled out of the ground as if they had been pardoned and staggered into the distance. Lu Ming did not really want to kill all the disciples of the Decimo Sword Sect. If necessary, he could kill a small part of them as a deterrent. If he really killed all the disciples of the Decimo Sword Sect, the higher-ups of the Decimo Sword Sect would probably go crazy and kill him at all costs. This was not what Lu Ming wanted now. After all, he still did not have the strength to fight against the entire Decimo Sword Sect. After putting away the 12 storage rings, Lu Ming was about to continue sitting cross-legged. In another direction, 2 figures came over at an extremely fast speed. It's really a case of searching high and low, only to find it by chance. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a cold-killing intent. Chapter 228. At this moment, Bai Qi and the green-robed young man were smiling. During this period of time, they had worked together to secretly hunt the blood ants. In addition, both of them were originally the top 10 experts of the Star General Hall, so they had a good harvest. During this period, they even came across an ant nest which they cleared. Moreover, as long as they encountered the disciples of the 10 Direction Sword faction, regardless of their strength, they would stay far away. Therefore, they did not encounter any danger. Haha, the blood ant eggs this time are enough to exchange for a lot of blood refining pills. In the future, we will definitely awaken a powerful second bloodline. At that time, the Star General Hall will belong to the 2 of us. The green-robed young man laughed. That's right. That Tianyun actually wanted to kill me. Unfortunately, he was too arrogant. He actually dared to challenge all the experts of 10 Directions Sword Sect. I reckon that he would have been killed by the disciples of 10 Directions Sword Sect. Bai Qi's eyes revealed a sinister look. We're almost at the blood ant nest. Let's observe secretly and wait for the others to make a move. We'll wait for the opportunity to collect some blood ant eggs. There's someone in front. As the green-robed young man spoke, he was suddenly stunned and looked ahead. There's someone? Bai Qi also looked over. With one glance, his face changed drastically and he almost wet himself. Tianyun, why aren't you dead yet? Bai Qi let out a sharp scream. How can I die when you're not dead yet? Lu Ming stood up and looked coldly at Bai Qi. Go quickly. Bai Qi's body began to tremble. He let out a low growl and ran back. The green-robed young man's reaction was even faster than Bai Qi's. He had already turned around and ran away. Bai Qi, I've said that I will kill you. Do you think you can run away? Lu Ming smiled faintly. He stepped out and chased after Bai Qi like the wind. Ah! Bai Qi screamed. He felt his legs and stomach trembling. His body was cold and he ran forward with all his strength. Wait for me! Bai Qi shouted. The green-robed young man was running in front of him and was faster than him. Why would the green-robed youth care about him? Outside the Blood Ant mystic realm, he had also targeted Lu Ming. Now he was scared to death, so how could he stop? Bai Qi felt a chill run down his spine as his scalp went numb. He felt as if the Grim Reaper was approaching him. Escape! I must escape! I can't die! Bai Qi roared. However, Lu Ming was getting closer and closer to him. At this moment, dozens of figures suddenly rushed over from afar. They were all disciples of the 10 Directions Sword Sect. Bai Qi's eyes lit up and he was overjoyed. His speed seemed to have increased as he ran towards the 10 Directions Sword Sect with all his might. He shouted, "Brothers of the 10 Directions Sword Sect, Tianyun is here, Tianyun is here, he killed your disciples." Regardless of whether Lu Ming had killed him or not, he had to say that Lu Ming had killed him. Only then would he be able to escape. Tianyun. There were more than 30 disciples of the 10 Directions Sword Sect in front, led by senior brother Gao. At this moment, he was stunned. Then he revealed a cold murderous intent and shouted, "It's Tianyun, haha, I finally met him." Immediately, he rushed towards Lu Ming. Haha, senior brother Gao is so lucky. The other disciples of the 10 Directions Sword Sect laughed and followed. When Lu Ming saw the disciples of the 10 Directions Sword Sect, he was not shocked but happy. He was not in a hurry to chase after Bai Qi and walked forward slowly. Swish! Swish! In a flash, the disciples of the 10 Directions Sword Sect surrounded Lu Ming. Huff! Bai Qi was overjoyed and let out a long breath. Kid, although you are from the Star General Hall, since Tianyun wants to kill you, I have to protect you. Stand still. Senior brother Gao glanced at Bai Qi and ordered. Yes, yes. Bai Qi nodded repeatedly, but he was laughing in his heart. Tianyun, the heavens didn't kill me. Now the one who will die is you. Senior brother Gao stopped looking at Bai Qi and looked at Lu Ming with cold murderous intent. Tianyun, you have been hiding from me for so many days. In the end you will die in my hands. Remember my name. I am Gao Tianqua. Gao Tianqua, right? Very well, now, I announce that this is a robbery. Hand over your storage rings. Lu Ming curled his lips. What? What did you say? Robbery? Gao Tianqua shouted, thinking that he had heard wrongly. Nonsense, hand over your storage rings, or you will stay here forever. Lu Ming said coldly. Ha ha ha, Tianyun, I think you are crazy. Now, I will wake you up. Gao Tianqua laughed. Dong. Then, he took a step forward and the earth rumbled. A strong and heavy aura was emitted from Gao Tianqua's body, like a mountain standing there. The aura of a mountain. Go to hell. A huge sword appeared in Gao Tianqua's hands. He took big strides and charged toward Lu Ming. It was as though a huge mountain was crashing toward Lu Ming. Tianyun is dead. Some disciples of Shifang's sword sect sneered. But the next moment, they were all stunned. Boom! A scorching and explosive aura rose from Lu Ming's body. The scorching aura rolled out, and the temperature within 100 meters rose rapidly. Boom! Lu Ming struck with his spear. It was like a meteor falling from the sky, crashing into a huge mountain. The mountain shattered with a bang. Gao Tianqua screamed and his body flew out like a rubber ball. The whole place suddenly quieted down. Everyone was shocked and dumbfounded. Senior brother Gao lost? He was defeated in one move? How is this possible? The disciples of Shifang's sword sect said in a daze. Not far away, Bai Qi's pupils shrank sharply, and his face was full of disbelief. He roared in his heart, "The aura of fire, impossible, impossible." He found it hard to accept. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward, and the aura on his body burst out, pressing toward the disciples of Shifang's sword sect. "Oh no, let's attack together." The disciples of Shifang's sword sect shouted. "Landslide!" Lu Ming whispered, and the demon-suppressing spear shone, condensing a giant spear as thick as a water tank and as long as 100 meters. The giant spear pressed down, and a terrifying shock wave blasted downward and exploded in all directions. Screams and roars sounded. The disciples of Shifang's sword sect were like rubber balls, and they were sent flying and fell everywhere. Only 2 people were still standing there. Bai Qi and the young man in green robe. At this time, Bai Qi's face was pale, and his body was trembling non-stop. His lips were trembling, and his eyes were full of horror. How can he be so strong? How can he be so strong? He kept muttering under his breath. It was simply unbelievable. Originally, when he met the disciples of Shifang's sword sect, he was ecstatic and thought that he was saved. He thought that Lu Ming was dead for sure and couldn't kill him at all. However, he never dreamed that more than 30 disciples of Shifang's sword sect, including a peerless genius who comprehended aura, would be defeated by Lu Ming in a few moves. How could this be? Now let's see who can save you. Lu Ming walked toward Bai Qi step by step with a teasing smile on his face. "No, don't kill me," Bai Qi shouted, unable to summon the courage to resist. "Don't kill you? Haha, you're really naive. Tell me, if you can give me a reason not to kill you, I won't kill you." Chapter 229. Bai Qi could only say the word "I" and could not continue. Previously, outside the Blood Ant's secret realm, he had repeatedly targeted Lu Ming and purposely pushed the blame to Lu Ming for the 10 Direction Sword faction's intention to kill the Star General Hall's disciples. This caused the Star General Hall's disciples to reveal the truth to Lu Ming. Just now, he had instigated the 10 Direction Sword faction disciples to kill Lu Ming. Was there a reason why Lu Ming did not kill him? He could not think of any reason. Seems like there isn't. Then die. Lu Ming said coldly. "No, don't kill me." Suddenly, Bai Qi knelt down and cried out. "Tianyan, please spare my dog life. I will do whatever you want me to do in the future. I will be your slave from now on. I will do whatever you want me to do." "Be my slave? Are you worthy?" Lu Ming said indifferently. Boom. A powerful aura burst out from his body and pressed down on Bai Qi and the green-robed youth. Bai Qi felt as though a mountain was pressing down on him, and it became difficult for him to breathe. It's not that easy to kill me." At this moment, the green-robed youth roared and charged at Lu Ming with all his strength. He wanted to trade his life for a chance of survival. But how was that possible? Swoosh! The dazzling spear pierced through the air and pierced through the green-robed youth's forehead. Blood splattered everywhere and red and white substances splattered all over Bai Qi's face. Bai Qi screamed in horror. At this moment, he felt hopeless and helpless. The green-robed youth was stronger than him, but he was killed by Lu Ming in one move. He did not even have the courage to resist. Don't kill me. I was wrong. I shouldn't have offended you. I was wrong. Bai Qi screamed hysterically. At this moment, he was extremely regretful. He regretted offending Lu Ming. Lu Ming was not someone he could afford to offend. It's all Bai Long's fault. It's all his fault. Why did he have to offend this demon? It's all his fault. Bai Qi screamed in his heart. He blamed everything on Bai Long. If it wasn't for Bai Long, how would he have offended Lu Ming? "You're really a piece of trash. You've dirtied my hands." Lu Ming muttered. Yes, killing me will dirty your hands. Yes, you're right." Bai Qi seemed to have grasped the last life-saving straw and shouted loudly. "However, I won't feel at ease if I don't kill you." Lu Ming whispered again. There was a bone-chilling coldness in his voice. "Don't." Just as Bai Qi was about to shout, a spear light flashed and disappeared, sinking into Bai Qi's glabella. Bai Qi was dead. "Now, it's time for you to hand over your storage rings, right?" Lu Ming glanced at the disciples of Decimo Sword Sect. The disciples of Decimo Sword Sect were horrified. They had just witnessed Lu Ming's terrifying combat strength and ruthless means. However, they were disciples of Decimo Sword Sect. They were usually high and mighty. Now, they had to hand over their storage rings. This was simply a great humiliation. Tianyun, Decimo Sword Sect will not let you go if you do this. Someone shouted. It seems that you don't want to hand it over. Then I'll take it myself. Lu Ming sneered. His figure flickered like a ghost. The disciples of Decimo Sword Sect had been seriously injured by Lu Ming just now. They had no strength to resist and their storage rings were taken by Lu Ming. At the same time, Lu Ming grabbed and threw the disciples of Decimo Sword Sect one by one. They fell heavily to the ground. Then, the second one was stacked higher and higher like a human pyramid. The last one was Gao Tianqua. Lu Min took off his storage ring and kicked him out. Gao Tianqua flew high into the air, stacking on top of more than 30 Shifeng Sword Sect disciples. More than 30 disciples of Decimo Sword Sect were stacked more than 10 meters high. Lu Ming moved and appeared at the highest point. He stepped on Gao Tianqua's body and waited. More than 30 disciples of Decimo Sword Sect roared, but it was no use. After a while, Lu Ming raised his head and looked into the distance. Finally, they're here, Lu Ming whispered. In the distance, many figures were leaping and coming here at an extremely fast speed. There were more than 200 people. Decimo Sword Sect hurried the remaining people of Star Hall to this place. In the blood ant nest, the silhouette flickered, and soon, he arrived in the vicinity. Tianyun, that's Tianyun. That's our senior brothers of Decimo Sword Sect. Damn it, how could they be defeated by Tianyun? Damn it, Tianyun actually did this to them. He deserves to die. There were close to 200 disciples of the Shifeng Sword Sect who witnessed this scene. Their eyes turned red and they exuded a cold, murderous intent. All of them stared at Lu Ming with murderous intent. In another direction, more than 20 disciples of Star General Hall were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. This Tianyun is too domineering, isn't he? Domineering, I think he's courting death. We'd better stay away from him. The disciples of Star General Hall discussed animatedly. Brother Tianyun. Myung Cheng was also among them. At this moment, he shouted and rushed toward Lu Ming. Brother Ming, stay away from me and watch the show. Lu Ming smiled at Myung Cheng and waved his hand. Myung Cheng couldn't help but stop. It seemed that Lu Ming's words had some kind of magical power that he couldn't refuse. Even he didn't realize it. Tianyun, why aren't you moving your smelly feet? Let go of my 10 Direction Sword Faction senior brothers. Speak, what despicable means did you use to sneak attack the experts of Decimo Sword Sect? Damn it, your behavior will not be enough even if you die 10,000 times. Do you know that? The disciples of Decimo Sword Sect continued to shout. However, Lu Ming couldn't be bothered to pay attention to them. After shouting for a while, he slowly stopped. I asked them to hand over their storage rings, but they refused. That's why they ended up like this. Now, hand over your storage rings. Otherwise, you'll also end up like them. At this moment, Lu Ming's indifferent voice spread throughout the place. What? The disciples of Decimo Sword Sect were stunned. The disciples of Star General Hall were also stunned. Tianyun was robbing the disciples of Decimo Sword Sect. Crazy, crazy. Tianyun is crazy. Everyone shouted in their hearts. Tianyun actually wanted to rob nearly 200 people of Decimo Sword Sect alone. If he wasn't crazy, what was? Tianyu, it seems that you've really gone crazy after hiding for a few days. But no matter what, you're dead today. Among the disciples of Decimo Sword Sect, a tall and thin figure walked out, exuding a powerful aura. Lu Ming recognized that this person was one of the 6 disciples of Decimo Sword Sect, who had comprehended the force. Whoosh, whoosh. In a flash, another 2 young men walked out. Their aura was not weaker than that of the tall and thin young man. The 2 of them had also comprehended the force. The 3 of them stared at Lu Ming with murderous intent, ready to attack at any time. Don't be careless. This person's battle strength is not to be underestimated. You'd better join forces to kill him. Gao Tianque, who was under Lu Ming's feet, shouted. The expressions of the disciples of Decimo Sword Sect changed. They originally thought that Lu Ming had used some despicable means to injure Gao Tianque and the others, but now it seemed that things were not that simple. Was Lu Ming really that strong? Chapter 230. Tianyun is despicable and shameless. He deserves to die. Elder Qiu Wuji wants to kill him. Let's attack together and kill him. The thin and tall youth waved his hand and shouted. Okay, let's attack together. The other disciples of the 10 Direction Sword Sect roared. Nearly 200 people unsheathed their swords and terrifying sword qi gathered together, stirring up the wind and clouds. The ground emitted a sizzling sound as sword marks appeared. In the distance, the faces of the people of the Star General Hall changed. The aura of nearly 200 disciples of the 10 Direction Sword Sect was too shocking. Even a 9th-level martial master expert would have to retreat. Tianyun is too arrogant. He has to reap what he sowed. Someone in the Star General Hall said. Brother Tianyun. Myongcheng roared, extremely worried. Ha ha ha, if you want to attack, then attack. So much nonsense. Let me see if the 10 Direction Sword Sect is all trash. Lu Ming laughed. You're courting death. Attack, kill him. The disciples of the 10 Direction Sword Sect roared. Whoosh, whoosh. All of a sudden, more than 50 sword auras soared into the sky, slashing violently toward Lu Ming with terrifying power. More than 50 sword qi completely enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes were calm as the corner of his mouth curled up into a sneer. Whoosh. Lu Ming's figure flashed and his body emitted a light and swift aura. He took a step in the air and suddenly, a string of afterimages appeared in the air. No one could tell which was real and which was fake. More than 50 sword qi slashed at the afterimages. None of them hit the real Lu Ming. Wind force, it's the wind force. Someone from the 10 Direction Sword Sect shouted. So he has comprehended the wind force. No wonder he's so arrogant. Everyone, attack together and block all his escape routes. Even if he has comprehended the wind force, he will still die. The thin and tall youth roared. However, no one noticed that the 30 people who were stacked up by Lu Ming had their eyes wide open in shock. Wind force? Just now, Lu Ming attacked them. He clearly used the power of fire. Now, he actually used the power of wind? Could it be that he had comprehended 2 types of force? They found it inconceivable. A martial grandmaster at such a young age actually comprehended 2 forces. What kind of demonic genius was this? Not good. He has not only comprehended the force of wind, but also the force of fire. Gao Tianque roared. What? The other disciples of the 10 Direction Sword Sect were all stunned. He even comprehended the power of fire? How could this be? Had Gao Tianque been beaten silly? In the martial grandmaster realm, being able to comprehend a force was already a rare genius. They were 1 in 10,000, extremely rare. As for comprehending 2 potentials, how could this be? There aren't many martial ancestor realm martial artists who have comprehended 2 forces, right? Gao Tianque must have been beaten silly, they were sure. However, in the next moment, they felt that they were dumbfounded. Boom! At this time, a terrifying fluctuation erupted from Lu Ming's body like a volcanic eruption. This was another type of power, the power of fire. The eyes of the disciples of the 10 Direction Sword Sect almost popped out, and they were tongue-tied. Lu Ming really comprehended 2 forces. How could this be? Kill! At this time, Lu Ming roared like thunder. His body moved, and he rushed towards the disciples of the 10 Direction Sword Sect. With the combination of the force of wind and fire, his combat strength skyrocketed. Let's attack together. Even if he has comprehended 2 forces, what can he do? After all, he's only 1 person. If we attack together, we can definitely kill him. Let's attack together. Boom, boom. Sword qi rose one after another. There were a total of 200 sword qi, which was extremely terrifying. Landslide. Lu Ming roared, holding the spear with both hands, and a huge spear light that was 100 meters long formed. This spear seemed to be real, just like a real long spear. Around the spear light, there were blazing flames and strong winds. The wind helped the fire, causing the flames to burn more vigorously, like a flaming spear. Boom! The huge spear radiance blasted down, containing a terrifying vibrating will. Kill! Kill! Nearly 200 disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect roared, and the dazzling sword chi slashed towards Lu Ming. When the spear light and the sword chi collided, there was a violent explosion. Terrifying vibrations rippled outwards in circles, forming a strong gale. The ground seemed to have been plowed, and deep gullies appeared, extending hundreds of meters away. At the center of the spear light and the sword chi, there was a deep pit that was more than 10 meters deep and more than 30 meters wide. How is Tian Yun? He should have been killed, right? In the distance, the people of the Star General Hall looked at the scene filled with smoke and dust and guessed. But when the smoke and dust dissipated, they were stunned. Lu Ming stood proudly with a long spear in his hand. His body emitted a strong battle intent, and he stood straight. What happened? There was not even a trace of a wound. On the other hand, some of the people of the 10 Directions sword sect, such as the 3rd and 4th level martial master martial artists, had pale faces, and blood flowed out of the corners of their mouths. Not only did Lu Ming not die, but he also had the upper hand. How was this possible? With nearly 200 people working together, even a 9th level martial master martial artist would have to retreat. Lu Ming actually blocked them and even had the upper hand. This was like a fantasy story. The nearly 200 people of the 10 Directions sword sect all stared in disbelief. The geniuses of the 10 Directions sword sect are only Ozo. Today, leave your storage rings or die. Swish! Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed towards the people of the 10 Directions sword sect. Join hands, don't split up. Someone shouted. But it was too late. Lu Ming was like a tiger in a pack of wolves, rushing into the disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect. With a sweep of his long spear, dozens of people were swept away and fell to the ground, blood spurting out. They could not resist Lu Ming at all. Lu Ming's current combat strength was too strong. With the cultivation of a 5th level martial master, the 4th level of the true dragon battle art, and the force of wind and fire had reached the initial success, his combat strength was terrifying. These young men, who were at the peak of the 6th level martial master, were no match for Lu Ming at all. Even those young men who had comprehended the force were the same. Bang! Bang! In a few breaths, a large number of disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect fell to the ground. There were more than 100 of them. The people of the Star Commandant Hall were dumbfounded. Some of them rubbed their eyes hard, thinking that they were dreaming. This is a monster. Myung Cheng was also stunned and roared in his heart. He thought that he had overestimated Lu Ming as much as possible, but in the end, he realized that he had underestimated Lu Ming. Lu Ming's strength was far beyond his imagination. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming held the long spear in his hand and swung it. A large number of disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect fell to the ground with their bones broken, including a genius who had comprehended the force. He could not escape the fate of having his bones broken. Run! The other disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect shouted, scared out of their wits. There was no way to resist at all. Their strength was not on the same level at all. Stop! At this moment, a loud roar was heard. A figure stepped on the void and rushed over at an extremely fast speed. It's Senior Brother Yang Zitian. Senior Brother Yang Zitian is here. We are saved. Chapter 231. The disciples of the Shifeng sword sect were overjoyed because Yang Zitian had arrived. However, Lu Ming just glanced at them casually and continued to attack. Bang! Bang! One by one, the disciples of the Shifeng sword sect were sent flying. When Yang Zitian arrived, there were only a few who could stand. Yang Zitian looked around with an extremely gloomy face, then looked at Lu Ming and said coldly, I told you to stop, didn't you hear me? I heard you, but who do you think you are? Do you think I should stop just because you asked me to? Lu Ming glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. Yang Zitian froze, and his face became even more gloomy. Lu Ming actually dared to ask who he was? Yang Zitian was so angry that he laughed and said, Tianyun, I said before that you're my prey. At that time, I was just casually saying it, but now you're dead. There's no way you can survive. Do you people of the Shifeng sword sect have the same trick? You said I'm dead as soon as we met, but you're all lying here. You'll be the same soon. Lu Ming sneered. Don't compare me to these trash. Yang Zitian said. The other disciples of the Shifeng sword sect had ugly expressions. Yang Zitian said they were trash in public, so of course, they felt uncomfortable. In my eyes, you're similar to them. You're all trash. Lu Ming smiled faintly. How dare you? Yang Zitian shouted angrily, and his killing intent was extremely cold. He, Yang Zitian, had been a genius since he was born. Along the way, he had defeated his peers and was almost invincible. Now, Lu Ming actually said he was trash, which was a great humiliation. He must kill Lu Ming. Tianyun, you've succeeded. You've successfully angered me. Today, I'll break all the bones in your body and feed you to the blood ants. Yang Zitian roared, and the aura on his body burst out. Moreover, it was constantly improving. Soon, he broke through the limit of the peak 6th level Martial Master Realm and entered the 7th level Martial Master Realm. 7th layer Martial Grandmaster. Lu Ming was slightly taken aback. 7th level Martial Master. Senior brother Yang Zitian has broken through to the 7th level Martial Master. Tianyun is dead for sure. The disciples of the 10 Directions Sword faction cried out in ecstasy. Yang Zitian was a peerless genius to begin with, suppressing his peers. With such a breakthrough in cultivation, his battle prowess would also skyrocket. Senior brother Yang Zitian, don't kill Tianyun so easily. I want to torture him. Not bad. The disciples of the 10 Directions Sword faction shouted one after another. Tianyun, I saw it just now. You actually comprehended 2 types of force. It's indeed shocking. But let me tell you, force is about quality, not quantity. Moreover, no matter how much force you have, in front of absolute power, it will collapse. Yang Zitian's eyes were like lightning, and his aura was like a tiger. He took a step forward, and the earth rumbled. You talk too much nonsense. You're just looking for excuses for your incompetence. Lu Ming scolded. I'm incompetent? Ha ha ha, you're courting death. Yang Zitian roared, and the battle sword on his back was unsheathed, and a scorching aura burst out. Force, it was actually the force of fire. I'll show you the true power of fire. Yang Zitian roared, and his figure quickly rushed toward Lu Ming, slashing out with his sword. The force of fire wrapped around the sword qi, and an astonishing power erupted. So, it's the force of fire. Lu Ming muttered. Your force is only superficial, but mine is already at the force of small accomplishment. This is the essence. Yang Zitian roared, and his voice was filled with contempt. Just now, Lu Ming's force didn't erupt with full force. He thought that although Lu Ming had comprehended 2 types of force, it was only superficial. How could Lu Ming fight against him? A frog at the bottom of a well. Lu Ming smiled faintly. What? Yang Zitian was stunned, but in the next moment, his face changed wildly. This was because Lu Ming's aura was rising uncontrollably. First was the force of fire. It instantly reached the force of small accomplishment, and it was still rising. In the end, although it didn't reach the major accomplishment, it was still stronger than Yang Zitian's force. Boom! A spear light shot out and collided with Yang Zitian's sword qi, and both dissipated. How is this possible? How can your force of fire be so strong? What's going on? Yang Zitian roared. He couldn't believe it. Just now, he was still looking down on Lu Ming, saying that Lu Ming had a lot of force but was not proficient. But immediately, he realized that not only did Lu Ming have a lot of force, he was even more proficient than him. It was like he was slapping himself in the face. This is impossible? Then let's continue. Boom! Lu Ming's force rose again. This time, it was the force of wind. All the way up, it was like a hurricane sweeping the sky. In the end, Lu Ming's force of wind also reached the force of small accomplishment. Force of wind has reached the force of small accomplishment. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. You're cheating, you're cheating. How can you comprehend 2 types of force to the force of small accomplishment? Yang Zitian no longer had a trace of calmness and shouted hysterically. Even his facial features were distorted. He comprehended force at the 9th level of the martial master realm, which was rare in the Shifeng sword sect. And at the 6th level of the martial master realm, he cultivated the force of fire to the small accomplishment, which was even rarer. He had always been incomparably arrogant, taking the 6 heroes of the burning sun as his goal and not putting others in his eyes. But now, he suddenly realized that Lu Ming's talent was stronger than his by a lot, which made it hard for him to accept. Die, this Tianyun must die. In this world, there can't be a genius who surpasses me. Yang Zitian roared in his heart. Kill! Without hesitation, his bloodline erupted and he attacked Lu Ming with all his strength. Die! The sword chi was shocking and incomparably hot. Yang Zitian was definitely a peerless genius. His battle strength was extremely terrifying. At this moment, he attacked with all his strength. His power was shocking. Even a martial artist of the 8th level of the martial master realm would be killed in one move. A martial artist of the 9th level of the martial master realm would also have to retreat. However, he met Lu Ming. The force of wind and fire combined, turning into a blazing flame spear light that soared into the sky. Boom! Lu Ming and Yang Zitian collided, turning into a terrifying and scorching shockwave that swept in all directions. Not good. Retreat! The disciples of the Decimo sword faction roared and frantically retreated without caring about their injuries. The people of the Hall of General in the distance were also shocked and frantically retreated. Boom! The huge shockwave rushed to the ground, blasting a deep hole in the ground. Kill! Kill! 2 loud roars sounded as the 2 figures collided again. Far away, the people of the 2 sides looked on in shock. They saw 2 figures emitting scorching auras colliding in the air and on the ground, like 2 ancient beasts. Boom! Boom! After more than 10 collisions, more than 10 large holes appeared on the ground. It was as if doomsday had arrived. Fortunately, they had been some distance away from the blood ant nest before the battle. Otherwise, the blood ant nest would have collapsed. Even so, the blood ant nest was still disturbed and many blood ants crawled out. Boom! Another violent explosion rang out, and a figure rapidly retreated, being sent flying. It was Yang Zitian. At this moment, he was in a very sorry state. His body was covered in blood and his hair was disheveled. He was no match for Lu Ming. Tianyun, I want you dead. I want to kill you. I want to kill your friends and your family. Chapter 232. Yang Zitian roared crazily, his killing intent seeping out. He was actually injured by Lu Ming, who came from the Star General Hall and was regarded by others as a motley crew. He couldn't accept such a great humiliation. Overflowing heavenly sword. Yang Zitian roared, his aura reaching its peak. A ray of sword light, as if it came from the heavens, appeared out of nowhere. It was incomparably brilliant, floating above Yang Zitian's head. A terrifying boundless sword chi rippled out. The ground under Yang Zitian's feet was stirred up by the sword chi, undulating like water waves. Earth-class sword art. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that this was an Earth-class sword art. Earth-class sword art, overflowing heavenly sword. Senior brother Yang Zitian actually mastered the overflowing heavenly sword. What? This is an Earth-class sword art, too terrifying. Tianyun is finished. Once the Earth-class sword art is used, he's dead for sure. Senior brother Yang Zitian is too powerful. This is an Earth-class sword art. The 10 Direction Sword Sect's disciples discussed excitedly. Some even laughed. They felt that Lu Ming was dead for sure. They could finally vent their anger. As for the Star General Hall's disciples, their faces were filled with shock and dismay. The 10 Direction Sword Sect's disciples were too strong. They couldn't compete with them at all. The number 1 genius of the outer hall of the Star General Hall had just comprehended force. Compared to Yang Zitian, the difference was too great. Brother Tianyun. Myung Cheng stared ahead. His eyes filled with worry. Tianyun, now do you know the difference between us? Tremble in front of me. Ha ha ha. Yang Zitian laughed crazily. In his mind, Lu Ming would definitely be shocked when he saw him execute the Earth-class sword art. Then shock, fear, and finally despair. Thinking of this, he felt very good. Unfortunately, He was only halfway through his enjoyment when he could no longer enjoy himself. Because Lu Ming's expression was calm, indifferent, and even a little disdainful. Yes, disdain. Yang Zaiqian's anger soared to the sky. His face began to distort as he roared. Tianyan, what's with your expression? What's with your expression? Hee hee. Lu Ming smiled faintly, but the murderous intent in his eyes grew thicker and thicker. Ah, go to hell. Sword of heaven, kill. Yang Zaiqian roared. With a wave of his sword, the sword light floating above his head violently slashed towards Lu Ming. Before the sword arrived, the terrifying sword intent had already enveloped Lu Ming. Earth-grade martial skills. Do you think you are the only one who knows them? Lu Ming whispered. True Qi burst out, and with one hand facing the sky, he waved his palm. Human Dao palm. Wang! The space seemed to tremble for a moment. Then, a huge palm print appeared in the air. The palm print was at least 10 meters in size. Its shape was no different from a human palm, except that it was slightly blurry. However, the strength of its might was extremely shocking. It was as if there was a human Dao king patrolling the sky. An extremely powerful pressure pressed down on everyone. Earth-grade martial skill. Another Earth-grade martial skill? How is this possible? How is this possible? The disciples of the Shifang sword faction roared. They could not believe that all this was real. They wished that they were dreaming. Ha ha ha, Tianyan, Tianyan, I knew it. This guy is simply a freak. Myeongcheng laughed. How is this possible? How can you also cultivate an Earth-grade martial skill? Ah, break. Yang Zaiqian roared in disbelief. He controlled the sword light and slashed at the human Dao palm. Boom! The palm print and the sword light collided. Heaven and earth shook violently. Then, there was a sudden explosion where the palm print and the sword light met. Rumble! The earth shook. Under the intersection of the palm print and the sword light, a huge pit that was 100 meters in length and width and more than 20 meters in depth was blasted open. Countless gravel splattered everywhere. Retreat! Be careful! The people of the Shifang sword faction and Star General Hall were in chaos. They quickly retreated and waved their weapons to block. They retreated for 1,000 meters before stopping. Bang! In the sky, the palm print shone brightly while the sword light dimmed rapidly. In the end, the sword light exploded. A figure screamed and flew back like a cannonball. He crashed heavily on the ground, creating a huge pit. It was Yang Zaiqian. He had been defeated and was lying in the huge pit, coughing up blood. Hiss! The sound of people sucking in a breath of cold air could be heard. Lu Ming walked in the air. His black hair fluttered in the wind. His aura was demonic and his body emitted a cold murderous intent. Tianyun, what are you trying to do? Don't mess around. Feeling the murderous intent from Lu Ming, Yang Zaiqian shouted in horror. I hate it when people threaten me with my family. Since you did that, your ending is already decided. Lu Ming said in a cold voice. He walked towards Yang Zaiqian step by step. Don't you dare. I'm a peerless genius of the Shifang sword faction. I'll be the pillar of the Shifang sword faction in the future. I'm someone who can become an overlord. If you kill me, the experts of the Shifang sword faction won't let you go. Yang Zaiqian struggled with all his might and roared. That's my business. Why do you have to worry about it? Lu Ming was unmoved. His murderous intent became even colder. Yang Zaiqian was scared. He was really scared. He could see that Lu Ming really wanted to kill him. No, you can't kill me. You're a lunatic. You're a lunatic. Yang Zaiqian shouted and rushed out of the pit, trying to escape. Human Dao. Lu Ming said softly and waved his palm. In the sky, a huge palm print was formed and blasted towards Yang Zaiqian. No, Yang Zaiqian roared. He frantically tried to resist, but it was to no avail. Boom! The palm print blasted down and directly blasted Yang Zaiqian into the ground. There was another big pit on the ground. The palm print dissipated, leaving only a pile of meat paste in the big pit. Yang Zaiqian was smashed into pieces by the palm. Yang Zaiqian is dead. He's been killed. The disciples of the Shifang sword faction widened their eyes in shock and stared at him. After a while, Someone reacted and shouted, "Go, go quickly. This Tianyun is a lunatic." Swish! Lu Ming's figure was like the wind. He stepped on the void and appeared above everyone's head in a few steps. Who dares to run? Yang Zaiqian will be the one who ends up. Lu Ming's cold voice spread throughout the place. The disciples of the Shifang sword faction couldn't help but stop and look at Lu Ming in fear. Could it be that Lu Ming wanted to kill them too? Tianyun, what are you trying to do? If you kill so many of us, the higher-ups of the Shifang sword faction will definitely go crazy and do their best to kill you. At that time, no one will be able to save you. Someone from the Shifang sword faction shouted, "Who said I'm going to kill you? I just want to rob you." "All right, now, hand over your storage rings," Lu Ming said indifferently. "What? Rob?" The people of the Shifang sword faction were stunned. "Why? If you don't want to hand them over, I don't mind killing you." Lu Ming's eyes were full of killing intent. The expressions of the people of the Shifang sword faction changed drastically. "I'll hand them over." Chapter 233. What a joke! Lu Ming was simply a lunatic. He even dared to kill Yang Zaiqian, let alone them. If they were killed because of this, it would not be worth it. Someone took off his storage ring and threw it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming waved his hand and put it away with his true energy. Since someone took the lead, the others could only take off their storage rings and hand them to Lu Ming. However, there were also some who were reluctant to do so. They gritted their teeth and almost cried. This storage ring could be said to contain all the wealth he had accumulated. Who would be willing to hand it over like this? However, when Lu Ming looked at them, they were shocked. They gritted their teeth and took off their storage rings and handed them to Lu Ming with trembling hands. 185, 186. Lu Ming kept counting as he took the rings. He was so happy that he could barely open his eyes. The disciples of the Decimo sword sect were crying and gritting their teeth so hard that their teeth were about to break. The people of the Star General Hall were dumbfounded by this scene. Soon, when the last disciple of the Decimo sword sect handed the storage ring to Lu Ming put it away with satisfaction. "All right, you can get lost now. This blood ant nest is mine. I'll kill anyone who doesn't get lost," Lu Ming said coldly. The disciples of the Decimo sword sect turned and ran as if they had been pardoned. In the blink of an eye, there was no one left. In the distance, countless disciples of the Decimo sword sect shouted, "Quick, let's find a place to heal and then kill the blood ants. Otherwise, we'll lose everything." "Damn it, my storage ring. Tianyun, damn Tianyun. I'll kill him when we get out of the blood ant's secret realm." Many disciples of the Decimo sword sect ran off into the distance, filled with resentment. They made use of the time to treat their injuries and hunt down the blood ants. At this moment, Lu Ming looked at the people of the Star General Hall. "Brother Myongcheng, why don't you explore the blood ant nest with me?" Lu Ming said with a smile. "I couldn't ask for more." Myongcheng was delighted. "As for the rest of you, scram immediately." Subsequently, Lu Ming looked at the other Star General Hall students. These people were not good people. Just now, they just wanted to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. "Tianyun, we're both from the Star General Hall. You can't be so overbearing, right? One person monopolizes the entire blood ant nest," a Star General Hall student said with an ugly expression. "Nonsense. So what if I'm that overbearing? If you're not convinced, let's exchange 2 moves." Lu Ming berated. The young man was stunned. What a joke, exchanging a few moves with Lu Ming. Wasn't that courting death? "Let's go." The others had no choice but to turn around and leave. Soon, only Lu Ming and Myongcheng were left in this place. "Brother Ming, let's go." Lu Ming turned around and strode forward. When they arrived at the edge of the blood ant's nest, they realized that there were hundreds of blood ants crawling around. Obviously, the battle earlier was too shocking and had completely alarmed the blood ants. When Lu Ming and Myongcheng walked over, the blood ants let out strange cries and pounced on the 2 of them. However, the highest level of these blood ants was only class 3 LV6. How could they be a match for Lu Ming? Soon, the ground was littered with blood ant corpses. Then, the two of them charged into the blood ant nest. In the blood ant nest, the tunnels were intertwined and extended in all directions. The two of them did not need to identify the direction and charged forward casually. They killed as long as they saw blood ants. An hour later, Lu Ming had killed more than 200 blood ants and harvested more than 1,000 blood ant eggs. On the other hand, Ming Cheng's harvest was not small either. He had about 200 of them. The two of them went around in circles and did not know how far they had gone. Suddenly, their eyes widened and a huge underground cave appeared in front of them. Once they arrived at the cave, the two of them were stunned. Blood ant eggs. A large number of blood ant eggs were piled up in the cave. Each of them was red and translucent, like garbage piled up in the cave. These were all shed by the blood ants. The blood ant eggs were not the eggs of the blood ants. They were energy crystals that contained powerful blood essence. How many blood ant eggs are there? Myongcheng was dumbfounded. What? There are at least tens of thousands of them? Lu Ming was also in a daze. Their eyes flashed with a blazing light. Squeak, squeak, squeak. At this moment, a sharp cry was heard. The two of them then realized that there was a huge creature in the middle of the cave. It was a gigantic blood ant. It was at least 10 meters tall as it lay there. Its abdomen was huge and there were strings of blood ant eggs hanging from it. At a glance, there were at least a few hundred of them. Mother ant. This was the mother ant of the blood ant. The two of them were attracted by the countless blood ant eggs and almost forgot about the mother ant's existence. The mother ant's huge eyes stared at the two of them and let out a sharp cry. Swoosh. At the side of the cave, there was a violent sound of something breaking through the air. A strong and sharp force attacked Lu Ming. It was a blood ant, but it was as huge as a water buffalo. Its body was fiery red and translucent like red jade. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming raised his spear and swept it across. Boom! With a loud bang, the blood ant was repelled. However, Lu Ming felt his body go numb and he took a few steps back. What a powerful ability! This is a Class 9 LV3 blood ant. Lu Ming was slightly surprised. Whoosh! At this moment, another blood ant rushed out from another cave on the other side of the cave. This blood ant was not smaller than the previous one, and it emitted a powerful aura. Brother Ming, you should leave first, Lu Ming said. Okay. Myongcheng nodded without hesitation, then turned around and ran toward the passage behind him. Facing a Class 9 LV3 blood ant, he knew that he had no power to fight back. If he stayed, he would only be a burden to Lu Ming. Now, let's have a good fight. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. The demon-banishing spear trembled and let out a buzzing sound. He rushed out and attacked the blood ant. Boom! The demon-banishing spear blasted out with the power of wind and fire. Bam! The long spear and the blood ant's claws collided. There was a violent explosion and a loud rumbling sound in the cave. After the first blood ant was repelled, the next one rushed forward. Two Class 9 LV3 blood ants joined forces and attacked Lu Ming crazily. Lu Ming raised his cultivation to the maximum and used the power of wind and fire to fight against the two blood ants. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The mother ant shrieked. Dragging its huge body, it dashed toward Lu Ming. Its long and sharp claws were like knives, slashing toward Lu Ming. Its power was shocking. It was not inferior to that of the two blood ants. Obviously, the mother ant also had the combat strength of a Class 9 LV3. Three Class 9 LV3 blood ants attacked Lu Ming at the same time, which made Lu Ming feel great pressure. Ancient shield. With a thought, 3 ancient shields appeared around Lu Ming's body. After cultivating for 2 months in the Divine Wind Valley, the ancient shield technique had broken through to the 3rd level and could condense 3 ancient shields. Clang! Chapter 234. The 3 ancient shields could be controlled at will, blocking Lu Ming's entire body. With the ancient shields protecting his body, Lu Ming was in an invincible position. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. He stared at one of the blood ants and launched a torrential attack on it. Myongcheng, who was running in the blood ant nest, smiled bitterly when he heard the deafening roar behind him. Brother Tianyun is really monstrous. I have to get out quickly. Otherwise, this blood ant nest will collapse. Myeongcheng ran with all his might. In the blood ant nest, Lu Ming became more and more courageous as he fought. He did not have to worry about himself at all. He attacked with all his might and suppressed a blood ant. Puchi! The demon-suppressing spear pierced the blood ant's hard shell and blasted a big hole. What a hard shell! Lu Ming sighed inwardly. If he did not attack with the power of wind and fire, he would not be able to break through the blood ant's defense. Martial artists below the 9th realm of the martial grandmaster realm would not be able to break through the blood ant's defense. It was no wonder that so many blood ant eggs had been piled up in the blood ant nest for so many years without being taken away. Those who entered were all martial artists below the 7th realm of the martial grandmaster realm. Who could be a match for these blood ants? Even a genius like Yang Zitian, who had broken through to the 7th realm of the martial grandmaster realm, would not be a match for these blood ants. At most, he would be able to plunder some and then escape. Whoosh! Lu Ming stabbed his spear again. It pierced through the blood ant's wound and went all the way to the hilt. The blood ant screamed and struggled frantically. Die! Lu Ming's spear shook and powerful true energy burst out. It rushed into the blood ant's body and smashed its organs into pieces. Finally, he killed a blood ant. Without any delay, Lu Ming killed another one. A few minutes later, bang! As the last mother ant fell to the ground, the 3 powerful blood ants were all killed by Lu Ming. Collect! Subsequently, Lu Ming began to plunder without restraint. Rays of light enveloped the blood ant eggs in the cave as he collected them into his storage ring. Lu Ming didn't count them, so he didn't know how many he had collected. 2 minutes later, all the blood ant eggs in the cave had been collected. Haha, we're rich! Lu Ming couldn't help but grin. Then, he controlled his bloodline and devoured the blood essence of the 3 blood ants. With a thought, Lu Ming appeared in the Temple of Paragon and started to refine the essence blood. This refinement took more than a day. The essence blood of the 3 blood ants was completely refined. Lu Ming's cultivation skyrocketed from the 5th level of the Martial Master Realm to the early 6th level of the Martial Master Realm. The amount of energy required to cultivate now is indeed much more terrifying. Lu Ming shook his head and smiled. This was the essence blood of 3 Class 9 blood ants, which was 4 levels higher than Lu Ming's. Moreover, the essence blood and blood chi of the blood ants were twice as rich as that of ordinary demonic beasts. 3 Class 9 blood ants were only enough to raise Lu Ming's cultivation by 1 level. This showed that the amount of energy required by Lu Ming was terrifying. Now that I'm in the 6th level of the Martial Master Realm, I'll need at least 20 Class 9 blood ants to level up. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Moreover, his bloodline had yet to level up. He didn't know how much essence blood he would need to level up to the 7th level. I can't let go of the corpses of the 3 blood ants. Their shells are rare materials for refining weapons. Lu Ming waved his hand and kept the corpses of the 3 blood ants into a storage ring. The secret territory is about to close. Myeongcheng must be waiting anxiously outside. Let's go! Lu Ming's figure flashed as he ran outside. Soon, Lu Ming came out of the blood ant's nest. As soon as he came out, he saw Myeongcheng anxiously pacing back and forth. Brother Ming! Lu Ming called out. Tianyun, you're finally out. I thought you were beaten by a few ants. Myeongcheng let out a long breath and grinned when he saw Lu Ming. How can a few ants do anything to me? Lu Ming smiled and moved his hand. A storage ring appeared. Brother Ming, there are some blood ant eggs inside. I got them from the blood ant's nest. Take them. Lu Ming said. No. You got them with your own strength. How can I take them? Moreover, I've already gained a lot from following you into the blood ant's nest. Myeongcheng waved his hand and firmly refused. Lu Ming offered more, but Myeongcheng refused to take them. Seeing this, Lu Ming did not insist. He put away the storage ring and went to the exit of the secret territory with Myeongcheng. The exit of the secret territory was on the easternmost mountain in the blood ant's secret territory. Once the 10 days were up, the elders of the imperial family and the Hall of General would work together to open an exit for them. A light gate appeared outside the blood ant's secret territory. Many figures appeared around the light gate and they were all looking at it. There were people from the imperial family and also from the Shifeng sword faction. However, There were more people than 10 days ago. Moreover, some of them were floating in the air. They were all martial grandmasters. On the imperial family side, Xueqi was among them. At the front was the red-haired old man and Akira no Ji. Akira no Ji glanced at the imperial family and sneered. Old Monster Hong, why did you send so many people here? Are you going to settle the score with us when you see all the people from the Hall of General get killed? Do you want to fight with us? I'm just taking precautions. I'm afraid that your Shifang Sword faction disciples will be at a disadvantage in the secret territory and die in there. If that happens, you'll be angry and harm the disciples of the Hall of General. The red-haired old man replied with a sneer. Ha ha ha. Akira no Ji laughed and said, my Shifang Sword faction disciples will be at a disadvantage? Die in there? With your Hall of General? That's impossible. That will never happen. Life is unpredictable, the red-haired old man said. That's impossible. Let me tell you clearly that killing is not prohibited in the Blood Ant's secret territory. If my Shifang Sword faction disciples really die in there, it's because they're not strong enough. They can't blame anyone. Are you afraid that we'll attack? What a joke. Akira no Ji said calmly. That's what you said. Remember it. The red-haired old man snorted. Old red monster. You're so confident. Don't tell me you think that Tianyun can pose a threat to my Shifang Sword faction disciples? Let me tell you, that's impossible. At this moment, that Tianyun has already died in the hands of my Shifang Sword faction elites. Akira no Ji sneered. Died in the hands of your Shifang Sword faction disciples? I don't think so. The red-haired old man said. Don't think so? Well then, how about we make a bet? I have a piece of heavenly star mithril here. I heard that you have a Yunluo fruit. I'll use the heavenly star mithril to bet with you on the Yunluo fruit. How about that? Akira no Ji said. Many people were shocked when they heard that. What? Heavenly star mithril? Yunluo fruit? Such a big bet? A martial arts grandmaster expert exclaimed. Heavenly star mithril was an extremely precious refining material. It was a top-level 4 material and could be used to refine level 4 spiritual weapons. The Yunluo fruit was a level 4 spiritual medicine and could be used to refine level 4 elixirs. Level 4 materials and spiritual medicine belonged to the martial arts grandmaster level and were extremely precious. The Heavenly Star Mithril and the Yunluo fruit were top level 4 items. Chapter 235. The red-haired old man muttered to himself. 100,000 spiritual crystals was an astronomical figure for martial grandmasters or warriors with lower cultivation levels. However, it was much better for Wuzong's. Martial grandmasters were also known as grandmasters. In the Scorching Sun Empire, they were definitely top-notch experts and belonged to the upper echelons. Compared to them, martial grandmasters were too far apart. Naturally, their value was not ordinary. However, 100,000 spiritual crystals was not a small amount. Even a Wuzong would have to think twice. Old Monster Hong, what's wrong? You don't dare to bet? Just say it. Don't be stubborn. Akira no Ji sneered. Who says I don't dare to bet? Let's bet. There are so many witnesses here. I hope you won't go back on your word. The red-haired old man said. Ha ha ha, I'm afraid you'll be the one going back on your word. Old Monster Hong, your Yunluo fruit is mine. Akira no Ji laughed heartily. He was 100% confident that he could win because Yang Zitian was in the Shifang Sword faction. He knew Yang Zitian's strength very well. Yang Zitian had threatened to kill Tianyun. As long as Tianyun encountered Yang Zitian, he would be dead for sure. Everyone waited quietly. After a while, someone's coming out. Someone shouted. Sure enough, the light gate flickered and people came out one after another. Soon, dozens of young men came out. They were all disciples of the Shifang Sword faction. The elders of the Shifang Sword faction, including Akira no Ji, looked calm. All of this was within their expectations. However, they did not notice that the disciples of the Shifang Sword faction looked a little gloomy. They continued to pay attention to the light gate. After that, The light gate kept flickering and people kept coming out. Soon, more than 200 people came out. All of them were disciples of the Shifang sword faction. None of them were from the general hall. The red-haired old man, Xueqi, and the other elders of the imperial family looked more and more gloomy. How is this possible? Why hasn't anyone come out yet? Xueqi clenched his fists, his eyes filled with worry. Ha ha ha, old monster Hong. I think your Star General Hall is most likely going to be completely annihilated. You've lost for sure. Quickly hand over the Yun Luo fruit. Akira no Ji laughed haughtily. You, the red-haired old man's face turned ugly. He gritted his teeth and said, Akira no Ji, don't be too proud. It's not time yet. No one knows the result until the very last moment. Haha, old monster Hong. You really know how to deceive yourself. All right, let's wait and see. Akira no Ji sneered. Elder Xueqi, at this time, a disciple of the Shifang sword faction, wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Akira no Ji. Akira no Ji waved his hand and said domineeringly, All right, you guys did well this time. Thank you for your hard work, but not everyone is here yet. We'll talk about the blood ant eggs later. The young man still wanted to say something, but Akira no Ji's face darkened. He swallowed his words when he glared at him. At this time, the light gate shone again, and more than 20 young men appeared. These 20 young men were all from the Star General Hall. The red-haired old man and the others were overjoyed. Humph, you're just lucky. I don't know where you hid, but who knows how many blood ant eggs you've obtained. Don't even think that one blood refining pill is enough to refine them. Akira no Ji sneered. The red-haired old man and the others were silent. They did not have much hope in their hearts. As time passed, more and more people came out. They were all disciples of the Shifang sword faction. In the end, about 280 people came out from the Shifang sword faction. This made the faces of Akira no Ji and the others from the Shifang sword faction turn ugly. The time was almost up, and the light gate was about to close. Once the light gate closed, they could not open it again. They could only wait for 3 years before they could open it again. But at this time, there were still so many people from the Shifang sword faction who had not come out. More importantly, 2 of the 6 geniuses who had comprehended force did not come out. One of them was young Zitian. He must have been delayed by the blood ant nest. Akira no Ji comforted himself. Lu Ming. Xueqi's eyes widened as he stared at the light gate. Lu Ming had not come out yet, and he was afraid that something might have happened. Time passed slowly, and the time for the light gate to close was getting closer and closer. However, no one came out. What's going on? What's going on? Akira no Ji was a little anxious. The others were fine, but young Zitian had not come out yet. How could it be? Bas. At this time, the light gate flashed slightly, and 2 figures appeared. Akira no Ji, the red-haired old man, and the other elders of the 2 factions stared intently. The 2 figure silhouettes slowly became clearer. Tianyun? How is that possible? Akira no Ji roared in disbelief. Tianyun. It's Tianyun. The red-haired old man's eyes widened. Then, he was overjoyed and laughed loudly. The 2 people who came out later were naturally Lu Ming and Myongcheng. Damn it! Tianyun must have found a place to hide. He didn't encounter young Zitian and the other disciples. Damn it! Akira no Ji roared in his heart. Haha, Akira no Ji, Tianyun is still alive. You lost. Hand over the heavenly star mystic Silva. Don't go back on your word. The red-haired old man said. Akira no Ji's expression was ugly. He was reluctant to do so, but he couldn't go back on his word in front of everyone. It's all Tianyun's fault. Why didn't he die? He roared in his heart and blamed everything on Lu Ming. However, he had no choice. He gritted his teeth and took out a fist-sized piece of metal that was shining with silver light and gave it to the red-haired old man. This was the heavenly star mystic Silva. The other martial ancestor realm experts looked at the red-haired old man with envy. Haha, I won't stand on ceremony then. The red-haired old man laughed and kept it. Then he looked at Lu Ming. The more he looked at Lu Ming, the more he liked him. Why hasn't young Zaitian come out yet? Akira no Ji stared at the light door with a gloomy face. Bam! Suddenly, the light door shook violently. Then, it exploded with a bang and turned into specks of light that dissipated. How could this be? Where's young Zaitian? Why hasn't he come out? Akira no Ji roared. What happened? Why hasn't young Zaitian come out? And why are there so many disciples? What happened? The other elders of the Shifang sword sect also roared in anger. Senior brother young Zaitian is dead. Suddenly, a disciple of the Shifang sword sect shouted. Everyone fell silent. Akira no Ji stared at the disciple with an ugly face and shouted. What did you say? Young Zaitian is dead? How could he be dead? Who in the blood ant's secret realm can kill him? Even when facing the mother ant, he could escape unscathed. How could he be dead? Akira no Ji roared in anger. An extremely powerful aura erupted from his body as he stared at the disciple. He's really dead. Most of the senior and junior brothers here saw it. The disciple shouted. Yes, elder. Young Zaitian is really dead. The other disciples nodded in agreement. Akira no Ji's face was ashen. He stared at the disciple and shouted. Why didn't you say so earlier? Elder Chio, I wanted to say it just now, but you didn't let me. The disciple felt wronged. You. Chapter 236. Just now, this disciple did want to say something but was stopped by him, causing the other disciples to keep quiet. But just now, he was in high spirits and wanted to give the red-haired old man a good beating. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that young Zaitian would die in the blood ant's secret realm. Now that he thought about it, he felt utterly humiliated. Speak, how did young Zaitian die? Akira no Ji gritted his teeth and asked. It's him. Tianyun. Senior brother young Zaitian was killed by Tianyun. The disciple pointed at Lu Ming and shouted. What? Everyone was shocked. Except for those who had entered the blood ant's secret realm. Everyone looked at Lu Ming. Young Zaitian was killed by Tianyun? How was this possible? Was Tianyun that powerful? Even the red-haired old man, Xueqi, and the others were shocked. Damn it! A cold murderous intent burst out from Akira no Ji's body. He suddenly turned around and looked at Lu Ming coldly, roaring, Tianyun, speak, what despicable means did you use? Did you secretly kill young Zaitian? Secretly kill? Lu Ming's lips curled up. Do I need to secretly kill young Zaitian? Nonsense, you didn't secretly kill him? You can kill young Zaitian? Even 10 of you won't be enough. Akira no Ji shouted angrily, not believing Lu Ming's words at all. Lu Ming sneered and didn't explain. Elder Chio, I have something to say. The 10 Direction Sword Sect disciple spoke again. Shut up! Akira no Ji shouted angrily. That disciple immediately shut up, but his face was flushed red. What do you want to say? Say it now! Chio Wuji shouted angrily as he recalled what had happened before. He was so angry that he took a deep breath. Elder Chio, senior brother young Zaitian was really killed by Tianyun. Senior brother young Zaitian was no match for Tianyun and was killed by Tianyun. The young man said. How is that possible? Did you look carefully? Chio Wuji asked loudly. It's not just me. Most of the senior and junior brothers are here. The young man said. Although the other disciples of the 10 Direction Sword Sect had ugly expressions, they all nodded in agreement. How could this be? Chio Wuji and the others were still in disbelief. A motley crew from the Star General Hall was able to kill a peerless genius of the 10 Direction Sword Sect. This had never happened before. Elder Chio, you have to seek justice for us. This Tianyun is simply a madman, a beast. Not only did he kill senior brother young Zaitian, but he also snatched our storage rings. All of our storage rings were taken away by him. All of our wealth and the blood ant eggs that we obtained from hunting blood ants were also taken away by him. A disciple of the 10 Direction Sword Sect screamed. What? What? Chio Wuji and all the elders of the 10 Direction Sword Sect were stunned. Their mouths were wide open as they stood there in a daze. The red-haired old man, Xueqi, and the other members of the imperial family were not much different. Their eyes were wide open as they looked at Lu Ming in a daze. "Damn it, you little bastard, I'll kill you." After a long while, Xueqi finally reacted. His hair stood on end and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. With a furious roar, a violent wave of true qi blasted towards Lu Ming. Not good. Lu Ming was already prepared. He pulled Myongcheng and instantly moved dozens of meters away, rushing towards the red-haired old man and the others. "Xueqi, what are you doing?" The red-haired old man roared and rushed out, throwing out a punch. Boom! Heaven and earth shook. The red-haired old man and Xueqi exchanged blows, and the earth almost cracked open. "Get lost. Today, I must kill that little bastard Tianyun." Xueqi glared fiercely at Lu Ming and bellowed furiously. "Ha ha ha." At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly laughed. "Little bastard, what are you laughing at?" Xueqi scolded. "Old man, do you really think that the Decimo Sword Sect is the ruler of the Blazing Sun Empire? I'm a member of the royal family. You want to kill me for no reason? Are you looking down on the four major sects and the royal family?" Lu Ming shouted, using the four major sects and the royal family to suppress him. "For no reason? You killed the disciples of my Decimo Sword Sect and even snatched their storage rings. Don't you deserve to die?" Xueqi roared. "Haha, what a joke. Let me ask you, is killing and plundering not prohibited in the Blood Ant's secret realm?" Lu Ming questioned loudly. Xueqi froze and his face turned gloomy. He couldn't answer this question. "Since killing and plundering are not prohibited, then it's normal for me to kill your disciples and snatch their storage rings. What right do you have to kill me? Moreover, before entering the Blood Ant's secret realm, all the disciples of your Decimo Sword Sect said that they wanted to kill me. I resisted and killed them back. Isn't that right?" Lu Ming's eyes were bright as he faced Xueqi without fear and questioned loudly. Xueqi's face turned ugly and the other disciples of the Decimo Sword Sect didn't say anything. Lu Ming was right. Nothing was prohibited in the Blood Ant's secret realm. Killing and plundering were the main themes of the Blood Ant's secret realm. What a sharp-tongued little thing. So what? Let me tell you, even if the disciples of my Decimo Sword Sect want to kill you, you have to let them kill you. You can't resist or you'll die. Xueqi said coldly. He was overbearing and unreasonable. Lu Ming sneered and didn't bother to say anything. This old man was simply shameless to the extreme. "Xueqi, you're really shameless. Only 20 or so people of my Star General Hall came out. The rest were killed by your Decimo Sword Sect. In the past, according to what you said, you're allowed to kill my disciples and I'll kill you instead. What kind of bullshit logic is that? Fine, then from now on, your Decimo Sword Sect can go back to the Decimo Mountain. The Blood Ant's secret realm will be mined by my Decimo Sword Sect alone." The red-haired old man roared. "You're dreaming if you want to mine alone. It's better if it's the other way around." An old man of the Decimo Sword Sect sneered. "Old red monster. Get out of my way. I must kill Tianyun today. Otherwise, I'll kill all of you as well. At that time, my Decimo Sword Sect's army and the imperial family will be destroyed." Xueqi said coldly and overbearingly. "How dare you?" Xueqi shouted. Xueqi actually said that he wanted to destroy the imperial family. "Xueqi, your Decimo Sword Sect is ambitious and should be punished by the world." The red-haired old man roared. Xueqi's face was extremely ugly. He couldn't help but regret saying those words out of desperation. Even if the Decimo Sword Sect had such ambitions, they couldn't say it out loud. Or rather, it wasn't the time to say such words. "Xueqi, come, let's fight. Today, we'll fight to the death." The red-haired old man strode forward like a lion. His hair and beard were fluttering. He was obviously furious. "Today, this prince will protect Tianyun. Whoever wants to kill him will have to kill me first." Chapter 237. Xueqi stepped forward in a domineering manner. A few martial ancestor realm elders from the imperial family followed closely behind Xueqi, their bodies emitting powerful auras. "Damn it, you're courting death. Akira no Ji roared in his heart, but he did not make a move in the end. Right now, the Shifeng sword sect hadn't reached the point of falling out with the imperial family. Xueqi was a real prince, the 8th son of the current emperor. If they killed Xueqi as well, it would be tantamount to starting a war with the imperial family. At that time, the 4 major sects would join forces to attack the Shifeng sword sect. The Shifeng sword sect wouldn't be able to withstand it. Moreover, there were many experts from the imperial family this time. Even if he wanted to make a move, he was not confident. Good, very good. 8th Prince, you're determined to go against the Decimo sword faction. I hope you won't regret it. Also, do you think you can protect Tianyun by doing this? Naive, let's wait and see. Akira no Ji roared. He waved his hand and left with the disciples of the Decimo sword faction. The disciples of the Decimo sword faction had a gloomy expression on their faces. They had suffered a complete defeat in this trip to the Blood Ant's secret realm. Although they had killed a large number of disciples from the Star General Hall, they were just a mob in their eyes. On the other hand, the Decimo sword faction had lost 60 to 70 disciples, especially Yang Zitian who had been killed. Moreover, most of the storage rings of the disciples of the Decimo sword faction had been taken by Lu Ming. Most of the blood ant eggs had fallen into Lu Ming's hands. They had lost almost all their face. Ha ha ha. The red-haired elder laughed heartily. Tianyun. Thank you, Elder Hong. Thank you, 8th Prince. Lu Ming stepped forward and thanked the red-haired elder and Xueqi with cupped fists. Tianyun, there's no need to be so courteous. Xueqi helped Lu Ming up. Tianyun, I should be thanking you. Not only did you help me win a piece of heavenly star mithril, but you also suppressed the arrogance of the Decimo sword faction. It's really satisfying. The red-haired elder laughed. They wanted to kill me. I was only retaliating. Lu Ming smiled. Haha, let's go back to the Star General Hall. The red-haired old man laughed and waved his hand. Immediately, the group returned to the Star General Hall. Count your gains first. Come here tomorrow morning to count the number of blood ant eggs. In a large hall of the General Hall, the red-haired old man instructed. Everyone nodded their heads and dispersed. When Lu Ming returned to his dorm, he hurriedly entered the Supreme Divine Palace. He couldn't wait to see what he had gained. In front of him was a pile of storage rings. There were close to 300 of them, all of which belonged to the disciples of the Decimo sword sect. Lu Ming began to take inventory. He placed 1 blood ant egg and 1 spiritual crystal. The other things were also sorted and put away. There were simply too many items. It took Lu Ming a total of 6 hours to do an inventory check. Looking at the things in front of him, Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Then he was overjoyed. The harvest was simply too great. The blood ant eggs were obtained by the disciples of the Decimo sword sect. Including the ones he obtained from the blood ant nest, there were more than 23,000 of them. Among them, there were more than 13,000 in the blood ant nest. The 300 disciples of the Decimo sword sect contributed about 10,000 of them. 23,000 eggs was a huge number. In history, no one had ever obtained so many blood ant eggs. 6 blood ant eggs could be exchanged for 1 blood refinement pill. 23,000 blood ant eggs could be exchanged for 3,800 blood refinement pills. More than 3,800 blood refinement pills. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The more he accumulated before the second bloodline awakening, the better. Lu Ming put away all the blood ant eggs in a storage ring. Then, he looked at the pile of spiritual crystals. There were a total of 620,000 spiritual crystals. Lu Ming almost drooled. Including the spiritual crystals he had before, he had more than 700,000 spiritual crystals. Robbing is still the best. Lu Ming exclaimed. Of course, this was just a thought. He would not rob for no reason. In addition to the blood ant eggs and spiritual crystals, there were other things, such as various spiritual herbs, spiritual weapons, and all kinds of refining materials. However, most of them were not of high grades. A few were of level 3. While most were of level 2 and level 1. But there were so many of them, their value was shocking. Not to mention the other things, the hundreds of storage rings were worth a lot. Lu Ming planned to find a chance to clean up these miscellaneous things. After putting everything away, Lu Ming began to cultivate with satisfaction. The next day, Lu Ming went to the main hall. He found that the red-haired elder and Xueqi were there. Tianyun. Xueqi greeted Lu Ming with a smile. Lu Ming also smiled. In addition to them, there were a few elders from the imperial family. Soon, more than 20 students who participated in the Blood Ant's secret realm arrived. Okay, now take out the Blood Ant eggs that you obtained from the Blood Ant's secret realm and give them to the elders of the imperial family to refine blood refinement pills. Under normal circumstances, 3 Blood Ant eggs can be used to refine 1 blood refinement pill. According to the rules, you can exchange 6 Blood Ant eggs for 1 blood refinement pill. The red-haired elder explained the rules again. Everyone nodded. Then, a young man stepped forward and took out a storage ring. The storage ring lit up, and immediately, numerous red and translucent Blood Ant eggs appeared on the table. An elder began to count. There are 62 Blood Ant eggs in total. 60 of them can be exchanged for 10 blood refinement pills. The imperial family will buy the remaining 2 Blood Ant eggs at 300 spiritual crystals per egg. Are you willing? The imperial family elder asked. I am willing, the young man said. If one did not know how to refine blood refinement pills, it was useless to keep the Blood Ant eggs. It was better to sell them. 300 spiritual crystals per egg? On the side, Lu Ming gasped and his eyes were burning. He wanted to sell all the Blood Ant eggs. How many spiritual crystals could he get? Of course, it was just a thought. No amount of spiritual crystals was more important than blood refinement pills. Even if one had spiritual crystals, they would not be able to buy blood refinement pills in the market. Then, they counted them one by one. Most of the Star General Hall students did not obtain many Blood Ant eggs. They only obtained about 100 Blood Ant eggs. The most they obtained was slightly more than 200. However, Myongcheng surprised everyone. He obtained more than 360 Blood Ant eggs and was temporarily ranked first. Myongcheng grinned. He was able to obtain so many thanks to Lu Ming. He followed Lu Ming to hunt blood ants in the blood ant nest and obtained more than 200 blood ant eggs, including his own. He had more than 360 blood ant eggs. Now, Tianyun, the red-haired elder said. Whoosh, whoosh. Everyone's gazes were focused on Lu Ming, looking forward to it. Lu Ming had robbed most of the Decimo Sword faction disciples' storage rings. How many blood ant eggs could he obtain? Everyone was very curious. Isn't this table too small? I don't think it can fit all of them. Lu Ming looked at the table and smiled bitterly. Chapter 238. The table was not big enough? This was the first time they had heard of such a reason. Bring the table over. The red-haired old man roared with excitement written all over his face. The others immediately brought over a few tables and placed them together, occupying more than half of the hall. Lu Ming nodded slightly and took out a storage ring. Everyone stared intently at it. The storage ring glowed, and a small mountain appeared on the table. It was a small mountain of blood ant eggs. Everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. So many? How many can there be? A student from the Star General Hall stuttered, almost biting his own tongue. Oh my God, isn't this too much? Could it be that Tianyun emptied the entire blood ant nest? Another young man shouted. Start counting. The elders of the imperial family came to their senses and started counting excitedly. Not long after, the number was announced. 23,153. One of the elders reported the number with a trembling voice. Hiss, gasps could be heard in the hall. Although they had expected it, they were still shocked by the number. Everyone stared at Lu Ming, dumbfounded. How many blood refining pills could he exchange for with so many blood ant eggs? 23,153 eggs can be exchanged for 3,858 eggs. There are also 5 extra blood ant eggs in exchange for spirit crystals, the elder announced, but before he could finish, he was interrupted by Xueqi. Wait a minute. Tianyun obtained such a large number of blood ant eggs. There is no need to count so seriously. I will make the decision. Tianyun's blood ant eggs can be exchanged for 4,000 blood refining pills. Make it a round number. Xueqi announced. Yes, 8th Prince. The elder noted it down. Thank you, 8th Prince. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Lu Ming would not reject the offer of more than 100 blood refining pills. Then, the royal family elder put away all of the blood ant eggs. Of course, he didn't have any blood refining pills right now. He had to wait until all the blood ant eggs were refined into blood refining pills before he could give them to Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming wasn't afraid that the royal family would swallow his blood ant egg. Not to mention his relationship with Xueqi. Even without this layer of relationship, the royal family wouldn't do so. Given the current situation of the royal family, they urgently needed the assistance of talents. If the royal family were to swallow the eggs of these blood ants, they would be short-sighted and digging their own grave. Therefore, Lu Ming was very relieved. Lu Ming, this time, you have completely offended the Shifang sword sect and caused them to lose face. They will not let you off. After some time, the Shifang sword sect will definitely send more powerful geniuses to look for you. You must be careful. Before leaving, Xueqi reminded Lu Ming in a low voice. Don't worry. Do you think I'm scared? Lu Ming said with a smile. Xueqi was stunned and then smiled. Ever since he met Lu Ming, he had never seen Lu Ming afraid of anyone. Okay, I'll wait for the good news of you killing everyone, Xueqi said with a smile and then left. After Xueqi and the others left, Lu Ming left and returned to the dormitory. I'll go to the Earth Essence Cave to consolidate my cultivation, then buy resources to break through. After returning, Lu Ming pondered for a moment and then walked towards the Earth Essence Cave. This time, he flashed Xueqi's token and the expert guarding the entrance gave him a pile of inscription stones, allowing him to cultivate for as long as he wanted. Lu Ming was secretly delighted. He took the inscription stones and entered the Earth Essence Cave. He didn't stop and went all the way down. On the 3rd and 4th floor, there were still people sitting cross-legged, trying to snatch other people's cultivation rooms. When Lu Ming passed by, their expressions changed when they saw Lu Ming. Although it was only a day's time, the incident of Lu Ming in the Blood Ant's secret realm had already spread throughout the Star General Hall. Many people knew of Tianyun's name. Lu Ming's methods shocked everyone. Lu Ming had another nickname, Ruthless. They looked at Lu Ming with eyes full of awe. Lu Ming only glanced at them casually and continued to go down. When he reached the 5th floor, Lu Ming still didn't stop and continued to go down to the 6th floor. The fire attribute spiritual qi on the 6th floor was several times denser than the 5th floor. Lu Ming opened a secret room, walked in, and began to cultivate. Lu Ming's cultivation had skyrocketed after devouring the blood essence of the blood ant. His foundation was a little unstable, so he could use the fire attribute spiritual qi to stabilize his foundation. 10 days later, Lu Ming's foundation was incomparably stable. It was impregnable and flawless. At this moment, Lu Ming walked out of the Earth Essence Cave. Anyway, he could cultivate at any time. Lu Ming didn't care how long he cultivated. After walking out of the Earth Essence Cave, Lu Ming walked out of the Star General Hall and walked towards the largest market in the imperial capital. The market in the imperial capital was incomparably huge and occupied a vast area. Here, there were many shops and merchant associations. There were even many merchant associations that were not native to the Blazing Sun Empire. They came from other empires and brought some of their specialties. There were 36 empires near the Cloud Emperor mountain range. The Blazing Sun Empire was just an inferior empire. Therefore, the market in the imperial capital was filled with people at all times. Lu Ming walked on the streets of the market. There were too many things for his eyes to take in as he looked left and right. Soon, Lu Ming came to a 5-story building that occupied a large area. 100 Treasures Pavilion. The 3 words inlaid in gold were extraordinary. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and walked in. Young master, is there anything I can help you with? As soon as Lu Ming walked into the 100 Treasures Pavilion, a sweet-looking girl came up to him. Now, Lu Ming had an extraordinary aura. Although he was wearing ordinary clothes, just by standing there casually, he exuded an extraordinary aura that no one dared to ignore. Naturally, The girl was very attentive. I'm here to buy some demonic beast blood essence. Lu Ming smiled. Buy demonic beast blood essence? The sweet-looking girl was delighted. Demonic beast blood essence was usually used to refine weapons or elixirs. It was very valuable. Those who could buy it were usually big customers. Young master, what grade of demonic beast blood essence are you looking for? The girl suppressed the excitement in her heart and asked. Class 9 LV3 demonic beast blood essence. Lu Ming said. Now, he was looking for Class 9 LV3 demonic beast blood essence. Those below Class 9 LV3 would not be of much help to him. Class 9 LV3? The girl suddenly let out a cry of surprise. Immediately, it attracted the attention of others. The surrounding people all looked over. Lu Ming frowned slightly. Wasn't this girl's reaction a little too big? Why? You don't have it? Lu Ming asked. The girl covered her mouth and looked around. When she heard Lu Ming's words, she hurriedly nodded and said, Yes, young master. Class 9 LV3 demonic beast blood essence is very precious. Young master, please follow me to the guest room. I'll ask the shopkeeper to come over. All right. Lu Ming nodded. It was fine as long as she had it. He followed the girl to a guest room at the back. Naturally, someone had already brewed the best tea. After a while, a chubby shopkeeper came in with a face full of smiles. He cupped his fists and said, Young master, I heard that you're looking for Class 9 LV3 demonic beast blood essence. Chapter 239. Young master, the Class 9 LV3 demonic beast's essence blood is expensive. The shopkeeper smiled. Oh, how many spiritual crystals for one? Lu Ming asked. A Class 9 LV3 demonic beast's essence blood costs 25,000 spiritual crystals. The shopkeeper replied. Hiss. Even though Lu Ming was mentally prepared, he still took a deep breath. A Class 9 LV3 demonic beast's essence blood costs 25,000 spiritual crystals. That was too terrifying. Young master, the higher the level of the demonic beast's essence blood, the harder it is to collect it. Moreover, the cost of storing it is very high. This price is not high. The shopkeeper explained. Lu Ming nodded. He certainly understood this. How many essence blood do you need? The shopkeeper asked. 20 essence blood for now. Lu Ming thought for a while and said. What? 20? 20 essence blood? The shopkeeper exclaimed as the fat on his face trembled. What? You don't have that many? Lu Ming frowned and asked. Yes, absolutely. The shopkeeper shouted excitedly. He knew that he had a big customer today. Normally, inscriptionists would only buy a few essence blood to refine pills or refine equipment. How could they buy so many? Moreover, only inscriptionists above the martial ancestor realm would buy the essence blood of a Class 9 LV3 demonic beast. It was very rare to buy 20 essence blood of a Class 9 LV3 demonic beast in one go. The shopkeeper's heart trembled with excitement. I'll send someone to get it right away. The shopkeeper shouted and then sent someone to get it. Shopkeeper, how much is a Class 9 LV3 monster core? Lu Ming asked. You still want to buy monster cores? The shopkeeper was even more delighted and quickly replied. A Class 9 LV3 monster core is much cheaper than a demonic beast's essence blood because it is convenient to store and contains more impurities than a demonic beast's essence blood. Generally, it is 1/5 of the price of a demonic beast's essence blood of the same level. A Class 9 LV3 monster core costs about 5,000 spiritual crystals. All right, give me 30 monster cores. Lu Ming said without hesitation. All right, please wait for a moment. I'll send someone to deliver it right away. After saying that, the shopkeeper hurriedly got up and walked out. After a while, the shopkeeper walked in with a few young girls carrying a few jade boxes. Young master, here's the blood essence and Yao core you want, the shopkeeper said with a smile. Lu Ming took a look and saw 20 portions of Class 9 LV3 demonic beast blood essence and 30 Class 9 LV3 demonic beast cores. Lu Ming nodded with satisfaction. Then, he took out a storage ring and handed it to the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper, Here are 650,000 spirit crystals. Please count them. The shopkeeper took the ring and scanned it with his consciousness. His smile became even brighter as he said, "Young master, since you bought so many items at once, we have a discount. This time, we only charge you 600,000 spiritual crystals. Also, this is our store's VIP card. As long as young master comes again, all of your items will be 20% off." The shopkeeper took out a golden VIP card and 50,000 spirit crystals and handed them to Lu Ming. "Thank you." Lu Ming was overjoyed and accepted it without hesitation. Lu Ming would not hesitate to accept it since he could save 50,000 spirit crystals. Also, he would get a 20% discount when he came again. Lu Ming was very tempted. With a wave of his hand, he kept the blood essence and Yao core. At the side, a few beautiful young girls looked at Lu Ming with sparkles in their eyes. He had spent 600,000 spirit crystals in one go. In their hearts, Lu Ming was a high and mighty figure. It would be great if we could get the attention of such a figure, the young girls thought to themselves. However, they knew that it was impossible. How could someone like Lu Ming be interested in them? "Shopkeeper, I'll take my leave." Lu Ming cupped his fists and left. Lu Ming did not feel the pinch of spending 600,000 spirit crystals in one go. After all, he had gotten them from the Decimo Sword faction disciples. After returning to the dormitory, Lu Ming entered the Temple of Paragon and could not wait to start cultivating. First, Lu Ming controlled his bloodline and swallowed a Class 9 LV3 demonic beast's blood essence. He then started refining it. This time, Lu Ming did not use it to increase his cultivation. Instead, he used all the energy in the blood essence to increase his bloodline grade. The Yao core was enough for him to increase his cultivation. 2 hours later, the blood essence was completely refined. There were 6 blood-red chakras in his bloodline. They were extremely dazzling, but the 7th chakra was not born. In addition to the blood essence of the 3 blood ants, Xueqi had swallowed 4 Class 9 LV3 demonic beasts' blood essence. However, his bloodline grade had not increased. This showed how difficult it was to increase his bloodline grade. Then, Lu Ming took out another Class 9 LV3 demonic beast's blood essence and started swallowing it. After swallowing it, he took out another one. Just like that, Xueqi swallowed 15 demonic beasts' blood essences and used them all to increase his bloodline grade. Suddenly, his bloodline trembled and the 7th blood-red chakra was born. When the 7th blood-red chakra was born, the spirit-devouring bloodline that was like a long snake roared to the sky. Its body shone brightly and expanded rapidly. It became thicker and longer. In the end, it turned into a giant python that was about 10 meters long. It floated above Lu Ming's head. It evolved. The spirit-devouring bloodline evolved again. Lu Ming was overjoyed. The spirit-devouring bloodline had evolved once when it was promoted to level 4. At that time, it had evolved from a finger-sized worm to a small snake. Now it had evolved from a small snake to a giant python. What would it become after the next evolution? Lu Ming was looking forward to it. The giant python roared and opened its mouth. A powerful devouring power burst out. The devouring power was several times stronger than before. Continue to devour. Lu Ming took out another demonic beast's blood essence. But this time, it only took him half an hour to completely refine it. The 7th chakra became brighter. Then, Lu Ming refined the remaining 4 demonic beasts' blood essences in one breath. I wonder how much demonic beast's blood essence I need to increase my bloodline grade to level 8. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. Then, Lu Ming took out a monster core and began to devour and refine it. Monster cores were much more troublesome to refine than blood essence. But now, the devouring power of the spirit-devouring bloodline had greatly increased. It did not take much time to refine it. In 3 hours, he had refined one. Lu Ming's cultivation had improved, but not by much. He continued to refine it. After refining 5, Lu Ming's cultivation had entered the middle stage of level 6 Martial Master from the early stage of level 6 Martial Master. The energy needed to improve was much greater than Lu Ming had imagined. Continue. In the next 3 days, Lu Ming had refined a total of 20 monster cores. Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the peak of level 6 martial master. He was only one step away from breaking through to level 7 martial master. But at this point, Lu Ming had refined several monster cores, but it was to no avail. It was difficult for him to break through to level 7 martial master. Lu Ming knew that he had encountered a bottleneck. During this period of time, he had improved too quickly and his cultivation could not keep up. Chapter 240. Lu Ming walked out of the Temple of Paragon and the dormitory. Big Brother Tianyun. The moment he walked out of the dormitory, he bumped into Ming Peak. Ming Peak. Lu Ming smiled. Big Brother Tianyun. My elder brother asked me to go to the D Tian battle arena with him. Do you want to come along? Ming Peak asked. D Tian fighting arena. Lu Ming's eyes flashed, revealing a hint of interest. The D Tian battle arena was very famous. It could be said that everyone knew about it. This was because it wasn't built by any force in the Blazing Sun Empire. The D Tian battle arena was built by the D Tian Divine Palace. The D Tian Divine Palace was an unimaginably powerful force. Not to mention the Blazing Sun Empire. Even the 36 empires of Emperor Yun were trash in front of the D Tian Divine Palace. The D Tian Divine Palace was an extremely powerful force in the entire Divine Wilderness continent. The D Tian battle arenas built by the D Tian Divine Palace were scattered all over the Divine Wilderness continent. There were countless of them. Among the 36 empires of Emperor Yun, there was only one imperial capital that had a D Tian battle arena. In the D Tian battle arena, one could fight and kill at will. Furthermore, one could earn a lot of spiritual crystals. This was a martial artist's heaven and hell. In this place, one's life was worthless. However, as long as one had the strength, one could win glory and wealth. Lu Ming wanted to train himself. Perhaps the D Tian battle arena was a good place to go. Let's go and find your elder brother. Lu Ming smiled. Haha, let's go. Ming Peak was overjoyed. He went to find Myongcheng with Lu Ming. When Myongcheng saw Lu Ming, he was naturally overjoyed. The three of them headed towards the D Tian battle arena. The D Tian battle arena was located in the south of the imperial capital. From the outside, the D Tian battle arena was an oval-shaped building that was over 100 meters tall. There were guards at the entrance of the D Tian battle arena. In order to enter the D Tian martial arena, everyone had to pay 10 spirit crystals. This was the arena set up by the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. No one dared to disobey. Even the people from the 10 Directions Sword Sect had to behave themselves in the Emperor Heaven arena. The omnidirectional sword sect seemed powerful, but that was only in the Burning Sun Empire. Against a power like the Emperor Heaven Deity Palace, the difference between them and the Emperor Heaven Deity Palace was unimaginable. Perhaps any random servant from the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace would be able to destroy the 10 Directions Sword Sect with a flick of his finger. After each of them handed over 10 spirit crystals, the three of them walked into the D Tian martial arena. When they walked in, they realized that the D Tian battle arena was much larger than they had imagined. The surroundings of the D Tian martial arena were densely packed with spectator stands. There were at least tens of levels, and it wouldn't be a problem to accommodate hundreds of thousands of spectators. In the center of the arena, there was a battle platform that was 200 meters long and wide. At this moment, there were two figures fighting fiercely in the fighting ring. Shouts and cheers were heard all around. Lu Ming glanced over and saw that the crowd on the spectator stands wasn't very dense. However, Lu Ming estimated that there were at least tens of thousands of people. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. The D Tian martial arena was really profitable. Even if there were only tens of thousands of spectators each day, the daily income would be hundreds of thousands of spirit crystals. Kill! On the battle platform, two middle-aged men were filled with killing intent. They roared and charged towards each other. Boom! Boom! Both of them were first-stage martial grandmasters. After exchanging tens of blows, the yellow-robed man won and chopped off his opponent's head. Haha, I've finally achieved 6 consecutive victories. The yellow-robed man laughed. 6 consecutive victories? There should be a reward of 100 spirit crystals. Lu Ming thought to himself. According to the rules of the D Tian martial arena, Anyone could go up to the stage and challenge someone as long as they paid 50 spirit crystals. At the beginning, it was a battle between people of the same level. For the first 5 battles, it was very casual. You could challenge anyone and there wouldn't be any rewards. From the 6th battle onwards, the DTON Martial Arena would arrange for stronger opponents. If you won, there would be a reward of 100 spirit crystals. For 6 consecutive victories, there would be 100 spirit crystals. For 7 consecutive victories, there would be 200 spirit crystals. For 8 consecutive victories, there would be 500 spirit crystals. After 10 consecutive victories, there would be a reward of 2,000 spirit crystals. After 10 consecutive victories, if you wanted to continue, you wouldn't be able to challenge people of the same level. Instead, you would have to challenge people of a higher level. Furthermore, the DTON Martial Arena wouldn't allow you to challenge people of a higher level. They would arrange for stronger opponents. For 1 consecutive victory, there would be a reward of 5,000 spirit crystals. For 2 consecutive victories, there would be a reward of 10,000 spirit crystals. For 3 consecutive victories, there would be a reward of 20,000 spirit crystals. For each consecutive victory, there would be an additional 10,000 spirit crystals. For 10 consecutive victories, there would be a reward of 90,000 spirit crystals. If you wanted to continue, you would have to challenge people of 2 levels higher. Of course, the rewards would be even better. For 1 consecutive victory, there would be a reward of 100,000 spirit crystals. For each consecutive victory, there would be an additional 100,000 spirit crystals. If you could win 10 consecutive victories, there would be a reward of 1 million spirit crystals. It was extremely terrifying. The more levels one could surpass, the more terrifying the reward. This would naturally attract countless geniuses to come and challenge them. Do you want to continue? In the battle arena, the judge of the DTON Martial Arena asked. Yes, of course. The yellow-robed man was filled with confidence. All right, I'll arrange it, the judge said. After a while, a white-haired elder walked onto the battle arena. He was also a first-stage martial master. Boom! Without saying anything else, the two of them started fighting. However, this time, the elder was clearly superior. After about 100 moves, he sent the yellow-robed man flying with a punch, causing him to vomit blood. I admit defeat, the yellow-robed man hurriedly shouted. In the DTON Martial Arena, one could kill as they wished. If one didn't admit defeat, only death awaited them. The yellow-robed man admitted defeat and the white-haired elder also stopped. After that, the yellow-robed man received his reward of 100 spirit crystals and left the battle arena. The white-haired elder also left the battle arena. Is there anyone else who wants to challenge me? The judge roared as he scanned the arena. I'll do it. A young man in his 20s jumped onto the battle arena. He registered and paid 50 spirit crystals. My cultivation is 2nd stage martial master. Is there anyone who wants to spar with me? The young man scanned the arena and shouted. I'll spar with you. A muscular man jumped onto the battle arena and started fighting with the young man. However, he was defeated after a dozen moves. After that, more and more people went up to challenge him, but they were all defeated by the young man. Obviously, this young man was a genius with incredible strength. 5 people had been defeated by him in a row. 5 consecutive victories. The young man easily obtained 5 consecutive victories. Is there anyone else who wants to challenge me? The young man was in high spirits. However, no one went up for a while. After a while, an old woman finally jumped onto the battle arena. We want to test your strength, the judge said. The old woman nodded and followed the judge into a stone door at the side. After 5 consecutive victories, the DTON Martial Arena wouldn't allow anyone to challenge anyone. They would test each opponent's strength. Those who weren't strong enough weren't qualified to challenge anyone. Otherwise, as long as someone colluded with a group of people, they could easily win the battle and obtain the reward. If that was the case, the DTON Martial Arena would suffer a huge loss. Furthermore, if that was the case, there wouldn't be anything worth watching. Chapter 241. Therefore, Only those who passed the test and were strong enough could go up to challenge. Or those who had historical records in the Tian martial arena, such as those who had won 6 consecutive battles, could go up to challenge those who were about to win 6 consecutive battles. There was no need to take the test. Not long after, the old woman passed the test and appeared on the stage. Kill! Kill! The spectators in the spectator stands roared and looked at the stage with anticipation. They needed to see a bloody battle. Only then would it be exciting. Kill! On the stage, the young man and the old woman were stirred up by the surrounding atmosphere. They roared and charged at each other. The young man used a sword, while the old woman used a slender saber. The two of them engaged in an intense battle. The old woman's saber technique was extremely sharp and experienced. Her attacks were ruthless. In just 20 moves, the young man was no match for her. Just as the young man was about to admit defeat, the old woman's saber light suddenly sped up. Puchi! Before the young man could say anything, his head was chopped off by the old woman's saber light. Good! Exciting! The spectator stands were in an uproar. They were extremely excited. You killed this person and replaced him to win 6 consecutive battles. Now, do you still want to continue? On the stage, the judge asked the old woman. Continue, the old woman said. This old woman was very powerful. It was obvious that she had cultivated for many years. Her mastery of martial arts was very high. She won 3 consecutive battles and then 3 consecutive battles. She had won 9 consecutive battles. At this moment, the old woman shook her head, indicating that she didn't want to continue. The more she challenged, the stronger the people below would be. She wasn't confident anymore. The spectators were disappointed. They naturally wanted to continue watching because the further down the stage, the more exciting the battle would be. The old woman received 1,000 spirit crystals and left the stage. Who wants to challenge next? The judge's voice echoed throughout the arena. I'll go and have some fun. At this moment, Lu Ming stood up and smiled. Big brother Tianyun, are you going to make a move? Ming Peek's eyes were filled with excitement. Myong Cheng was also looking forward to it. They weren't worried about Lu Ming at all. They didn't believe that Lu Ming would lose in a battle of the same level. Lu Ming smiled. He strode forward and went up to the fighting ring. When the judge saw that someone had stepped onto the stage, he smiled and said, Little brother, please register your cultivation and pay the fee. Lu Ming nodded and took out 50 spirit crystals to register. I am a 6th level martial master. Who wants to fight me? Lu Ming scanned the surroundings. His voice was not loud, but it spread throughout the entire area. What? 6th level martial master, so young? Most of the spectators in the stands were shocked. The spectators in the stands came from all over the imperial capital. Most of them did not know Lu Ming. Could it be a top genius from the 5 great sects? Someone muttered. For a moment, no one went up. The younger they were, the higher their cultivation. Generally, they were geniuses and their combat strength was difficult to measure. They didn't want to die in vain. I know him. His name is Tianyun, a peerless genius from the Star General Hall. He is extremely powerful. Half a month ago, in the Blood Ant's secret realm, he killed Yang Zitian, a peerless genius from the Shifang Sword Sect. He snatched the storage rings of most of the disciples of the Shifang Sword Sect alone. Someone shouted, It's him? So he is Tianyun. There were exclamations in the stands. In the past half a month, Tianyun's name had spread throughout the imperial capital. The incident in the Blood Ant's secret realm had also spread throughout the imperial capital. How can such a genius fight in a battle of the same level? Yes. Someone sighed. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. He didn't expect that being too famous was not a good thing. Now, no one even wanted to fight. Who wants to fight me? Lu Ming shouted again. But still, no one went up. After a while, a burly man stood up and said, Young Master Tianyun, I will fight with you, but we will only spar. How about it? Okay. Lu Ming was overjoyed and quickly agreed. He wasn't a bloodthirsty person. He didn't have to fight to the death. As long as someone went up, he would be satisfied. The burly man moved and went up to the fighting ring, standing opposite Lu Ming. This is going to be interesting. The spectators in the stands were looking forward to it. Although Tianyun's name had spread throughout the imperial capital recently, there were still very few who had seen Lu Ming fight with their own eyes. Naturally, everyone was looking forward to it. A large saber appeared in the middle-aged man's hand as he looked at Lu Ming cautiously. Lu Ming stood calmly with a long spear in his hand. Bang! The middle-aged burly man didn't hesitate and launched an attack. As soon as he attacked, he slashed out 18 times in a row, each faster than the last. The saber light whistled and blocked Lu Ming's path. Lu Ming wasn't in a hurry to attack. He used the high air steps and his figure flashed, leaving the range of the burly man's attack. Again. The burly man roared and attacked like a tide. Layers of snow-white saber light attacked Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's face was calm and indifferent. His body was like moving clouds and flowing water. He swayed slightly, causing the burly man's saber light to miss. Whoosh! Suddenly, the long spear in Lu Ming's hand stabbed at the burly man's saber light. With such a casual stab, the burly man's saber light disappeared, and his body was like a thug. How could this be? The burly man shouted. Lu Ming didn't use much strength. He just casually stabbed with his spear, and his saber art was broken. He found it hard to accept. Your saber art is a lower profound level saber art. It should be a combination of hardness and softness. However, you blindly pursued speed and power, which made it inferior. Therefore your saber art has been stuck at the 4th level. It's difficult to break through the 5th level. Lu Ming enunciated each word slowly. However, when the middle-aged man heard this, it was like a bolt from the blue. He was stunned. His eyes kept flickering as if he was thinking about something. After a while, the middle-aged man was overjoyed. He suddenly slashed out with the saber in his hand. In an instant, 27 saber lights appeared. They were extremely dazzling and stronger than before. Haha, my saber art has broken through. The middle-aged man laughed and then looked at Lu Ming. He suddenly cupped his fist and bowed deeply. Thank you, young Master Tianyun, for your guidance. Otherwise, I don't know when my saber art would have broken through. Young Master Tianyun is a genius. I admire you so much. You're welcome. It's your own comprehension that allowed you to break through. I was just throwing a brick to attract more jade. Lu Ming smiled slightly. Now, Lu Ming had even succeeded in cultivating an earth-level martial art. Naturally, his vision was different. The middle-aged man only cultivated a lower profound level martial art. Although Lu Ming didn't cultivate saber art, his vision was there for all to see. When the middle-aged man attacked continuously, Lu Ming saw the weaknesses and shortcomings of his saber art. He casually gave a few pointers. He didn't expect the middle-aged man's saber art to break through in one fell swoop. No matter what, I'm very grateful for young Master Tianyun's kindness. The middle-aged man bowed again and then turned to leave the fighting ring. It was obvious that he had admitted defeat. The audience in the stands was dumbfounded. How could this be? Chapter 242. The old man looked at Lu Ming expectantly. Lu Ming was young, but his understanding of martial arts was shockingly high. Just now, he had given the burly man a few pointers and helped him break through. This made the old man's heart burn with excitement. Nestle, Xiangmu is too cunning. He actually beat me to it. Damn it, don't fight with me. It's my turn next. Your turn? Why? Young Master Tianyun uses a long spear, and so do I. It's my turn for the next match. It's my turn. On the spectator stand, several 6th-layer martial master experts began to fight. The others were dumbfounded. These people were fighting to challenge Lu Ming, not because Lu Ming was too weak, but because he was too strong. Such a thing was unheard of. Lu Ming himself was in a daze. However, he was not worried that no one would accept his challenge. Please. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said to the old man, Please enlighten me. The old man cupped his fists and a long sword appeared. Swoosh! The sword light pierced through the air and charged toward Lu Ming. Just like before, Lu Ming did not rush to fight back. He dodged the attack with his movement skill while observing the old man's swordsmanship. After more than 30 moves, Lu Ming's casual spear attack broke the old man's swordsmanship and forced him to retreat. However, the old man was not depressed. Instead, he looked at Lu Ming with excitement and hope. Lu Ming pondered for a while and explained the flaws of the old man's swordsmanship according to what he had observed and his own understanding. After listening, the elder savored it carefully. He was ecstatic and his face was full of excitement. He bowed respectfully to Lu Ming and said, "Thank you for your guidance, young Master Tianyun." "Senior, you're welcome," Lu Ming said with a smile. Then, the old man walked down the fighting ring with satisfaction. "Mr. Tianyun, I'm here to learn from you." As soon as the old man walked down the fighting ring, a burly man rushed up. It's my turn." On the other side, someone also rushed up the fighting ring. "It's my turn. Get out of here." "You're the one who should get out." The two of them roared with killing intent and were about to start a fight. The surrounding crowd was dumbstruck, and so was Lu Ming. "Stop. If you want to challenge him, come one by one. Otherwise, you're disqualified." The judge shouted with a speechless expression. He had been in charge of the Dtion battle arena for many years, but this was the first time he had encountered such a situation. "Judge, I'm the one who challenged," the burly man shouted. "Nonsense, it's me." The other person didn't back down either. "All right, you go first. You're the last one." The referee's face darkened as he pointed at the middle-aged man. The burly man was burly man. The other person stood at the side, unwilling. The burly man jumped onto the fighting ring and cupped his fists at Lu Ming. He said respectfully, "Mr. Tianyun, I also use a spear. Please give me some pointers." A long spear appeared in the burly man's hand. "Please." Lu Ming smiled. Instantly, the middle-aged burly man collected his thoughts and shook his long spear. More than 10 spear flowers appeared in the air. Beams of spear gleams shot toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming did the same and dodged dozens of attacks. He allowed the burly man to use his strongest martial skill and defeated him easily. He pointed out his weakness. The burly man was overjoyed and left with gratitude. Then, the other person went up and Lu Ming did the same. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming won 5 consecutive battles. However, Lu Ming's 5-match winning streak was completely different from others. Every time his opponents lost, they would leave after thanking him profusely. "Anything can happen to this Tianyun," Myongcheng sighed. Ming Peak nodded in agreement. After 5 consecutive victories, it was time for the 6th battle. A famous expert went up for the 6th battle. This expert had won 6 consecutive battles in the Dtion battle arena. With such a record, he didn't need to be tested and could directly fight. However, this person was still very polite to Lu Ming. He knew that he wasn't a match for Lu Ming. He came up with the intention of asking Lu Ming for pointers. "Mr. Tianyun, please give me some pointers." This person was also very polite. Lu Ming nodded. In the end, there was naturally no suspense. Lu Ming defeated his opponent easily and gave him some pointers. 6 consecutive victories, 7 consecutive victories, 8 consecutive victories. Soon, Lu Ming won 10 consecutive battles. His 10 consecutive victories were easily won, and he didn't even injure a single person. "Tianyun, you have won 10 consecutive battles. If you continue, you will have to challenge an expert of the 7th stage of the Martial Master realm. Do you still want to continue?" The judge looked at Lu Ming and asked. "Continue." Lu Ming nodded without hesitation. The audience was filled with anticipation. How much could Lu Ming achieve by challenging someone of a higher stage? How many consecutive victories could he achieve? The Dtion battle arena wouldn't allow an ordinary 7th stage martial master to challenge someone of a higher stage. Those who went up would definitely be experts of the 7th stage. "All right." The judge nodded and looked around. "Is there a 7th stage martial master realm expert who wants to challenge Tianyun?" "Let me." Just as the judge finished speaking, a young man in his 30s stood up and went up the stage. "Young Tai, you can directly fight." When the judge saw this young man, he didn't let him test his strength. It was obvious that this person was quite famous in the Dtion battle arena and was recognized by the judge. Tianyun, go ahead. I'm not someone those 6-stage martial master realm experts can compare to. Yang Tai was very confident as he looked at Lu Ming. Please. Lu Ming smiled. Boom. Yang Tai exploded with all his strength. The long spear in his hand emitted a bright light as it pierced towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's long spear shook and the body of the spear vibrated. There was a terrifying fluctuation in the air and a terrifying shock wave charged toward Yang Tai. Bang! Yang Tai was hit by the shock wave and his body was like a cannonball. He was sent flying and heavily fell off the stage. Seasai. The entire arena was filled with gasps. One move, just one move. He didn't even use any martial skills. He just shook his spear and sent Yang Tai flying off the stage. Strength, powerful strength. In the previous 10 matches, Lu Ming was very polite. He defeated his opponent after a few dozen moves and didn't show any powerful strength. This made some people forget about Lu Ming's strength. Now, they finally remembered that Lu Ming's strength was extremely terrifying. Yang Tai struggled to get up and looked at Lu Ming in shock before he staggered away. Then, the challenges continued. Consecutive wins. An unstoppable winning streak. In less than an hour, Lu Ming had already obtained 7 consecutive wins. The entire arena was filled with excited discussions. 7 wins in a row. Do you guys think Tianyun can achieve 10 wins in a row? It's hard to say. At this stage, the Dtion battle arena won't be able to sit still and will send out a true expert. Until now, the Dtion battle arena hasn't sent out a death fighter. Chapter 243. There were 2 main types of challenges. One was to pick an opponent on the spot. If there were no challengers, the Dtion fighting arena would send out experts. The Dtion fighting arena's strength was unfathomable. Naturally, they had raised a group of experts. The experts sent out by the Dtion fighting arena were known as death fighters. Just from the name, one would know that death fighters were powerful people who didn't fear death. When they attacked, there would definitely be blood. Tianyun, wait a moment, the judge said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. At the highest point of the Dtion fighting arena, there was a luxurious room. There was a window in the room that allowed one to see the entire Dtion fighting arena. At this moment, there were a few old men watching. This Tianyun is very powerful. It's time to send out a death fighter. One of the old men in black said. That's right. However, normal death fighters are definitely not Tianyun's match. I suggest that we let number 18 go first. If number 18 can't win, number 17 will go. Another old man said. I agree. I agree too. The other old men nodded. Then they passed down the order. Not long after, a tall and muscular man with scars all over his body rushed onto the fighting arena. The man's body was filled with killing intent. His eyes were like that of a wild beast as he stared at Lu Ming. There were 2 words carved on the man's face. Number 18. Number 18. It's the Dtion fighting arena's death fighter. Number 18. When the audience saw this man, they all exclaimed. Rumor has it that within the death fighters of the Dtion battle arena, only those with extremely strong battle strength have the qualifications to carve words on their faces. Rumor has it that within the Dtion battle arena, there are 5 strongest people within the 7th layer of the Martial Master Realm. They are respectively from 16 to 20. It seems like the Dtion fighting arena values Tianyun a lot. Nonsense. If Tianyun were to win 10 times in a row, he would have to pay 90,000 spirit crystals. How could the Dtion fighting arena let Tianyun win so easily? That's true. Amazing. The 10 spiritual crystals I spent today were worth it. I bet those who didn't come will regret it to death. Lu Ming's gaze shifted slightly as he looked at 18. Lu Ming felt a strong murderous aura from the other party. Dtion's gladiator? Things are finally getting interesting. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up into a smile, and a hint of battle intent appeared in his eyes. Tianyun, you have to be careful. 18 won't show any mercy. For a genius like Lu Ming, the referee was quite kind and gave him a reminder. Thank you. Lu Ming said with a smile. All right, let's begin. The referee announced. Roar. Following the referee's announcement, 18 let out a beast-like roar. With a wave of her hand, a meteor hammer appeared in her hand. The meteor hammer emitted a terrifying whistling sound as it bombarded Lu Ming. The meteor hammer was a strange weapon. It was very difficult to master, but once it was mastered, its power was also very strong. The meteor hammer was really like a meteor as it bombarded Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming didn't dodge. Instead, he stabbed out with his spear. Ding! The tip of the spear accurately pierced the meteor hammer, producing a deafening sound. The spear didn't move at all, but the meteor hammer flew back at an even faster speed than before. 18's ferocious expression changed drastically. He leaped into the air and dodged the meteor hammer. The meteor hammer smashed into the battle stage, causing a loud explosion. If it wasn't for the fact that the battle stage was protected by the DT on battle stage's experts, the battle stage would have exploded. 18's combat strength is probably comparable to an ordinary LV8 martial grandmaster. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. However, an ordinary LV8 martial grandmaster was nothing in front of Lu Ming. Whoosh! After that, Lu Ming took a step forward. Like a ghost, he appeared in front of 18 and swept his spear at her. Boom! 18 used the iron chain to block, but it was useless. Lu Ming's spear directly hit her body. She flew hundreds of meters away with the meteor hammer before stopping. Victory! Tianyun won. It was a clean victory. The audience looked at Lu Ming in shock. They weren't surprised that Lu Ming won. However, they were shocked that Lu Ming won so easily. At the highest point of Tion's gladiator arena, a few elders were watching with sparkling eyes. This Tianyun is definitely a peerless genius. He's a demon-level peerless genius. Only other peerless geniuses who are one level higher than him can fight with him. It's hard for others to stop him. An elder sighed. That's right. This Tianyun, I feel that he hasn't used most of his strength. Even if 16 goes up, she won't be his match. Then let him win 10 times in a row? Of course. This is a good thing. When the time comes, we'll be the ones to earn the most. Haha, that's right. Let's let 17 and 16 go up. Not only were the elders not unhappy, but their faces were filled with joy. Next, a man with the number 17 carved on his face went up. He was still no match for Lu Ming. 9 wins in a row. After 9 wins, a lady in her 20s went up. This lady had the number 16 carved on her face. This lady was much stronger than 17 and 18. She had actually comprehended the force. Unfortunately, compared to Yang Zitian, she was still a lot weaker. She wasn't Lu Ming's match at all. Lu Ming unleashed his fire force and defeated his opponent easily. 10 wins in a row. Lu Ming won 10 times in a row. According to the rules, he would be rewarded with 90,000 spiritual crystals. Tianyun, do you want to continue? The judge looked at Lu Ming and asked. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on Lu Ming. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. If he continued, he would have to fight someone 2 levels above him. Although it was rare to win 10 times in a row, there would still be one every once in a while. However, it was rare to be able to win against someone 2 levels above him. If he could win 10 times in a row, he would be rewarded with 100,000 spiritual crystals. For every additional win, he would be rewarded with another 100,000 spiritual crystals. How tempting was that? However, there were only a few people who could get it. The current 6 heroes of the Burning Sun Empire were all geniuses who had won 2 times in a row. Among the 6 heroes, 5 of them had won 4 times in a row. Only Qiu Chongkong, the leader of the 6 heroes, the peerless genius of the 10 Directions Sword faction, had managed to achieve a record of 7 consecutive victories. This was the highest record in the Burning Sun Empire in the past 100 years. Would Tianyun accept it? I choose to continue, Lu Ming said without hesitation. 10 wins in a row for only 90,000 spiritual crystals was too little. Lu Ming's goal was to win 2 levels above him. Those rewards were what tempted Lu Ming. He wouldn't miss it. Whoosh! The scene was in an uproar. Everyone was excited. Tianyun had agreed to continue the challenge. There would be a good show to watch. Challenging someone 2 levels higher was not something that could be seen often. It was extremely rare. Seeing that Lu Ming had agreed, a happy smile appeared on the referee's face. He said, Tianyun, we need to arrange for people to challenge someone 2 levels above us. We can't do it immediately. We have to do it in 3 days. Are you willing? Chapter 244. Alright, let's continue the challenge 3 days later. The judge revealed a happy smile and clasped his fists to the crowd. Everyone, the day after tomorrow will be the Dtion Auction House's half-yearly auction. I hope that everyone will be able to attend. Today's challenge shall end here. Auction house? Lu Ming was startled and showed a hint of interest. Then, he walked down the fighting stage. Brother Tianyun, I admire you more and more. Do your best 3 days later and break the record of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun Empire. Your name will spread throughout the Scorching Sun Empire. Ming Feng couldn't wait to run over and said excitedly as soon as he got off the fighting ring. Lu Ming smiled. Among the 6 heroes, the other 5 had achieved 4 consecutive victories with a gap of 2 levels. Qiu Chongkong had achieved 7 consecutive victories with a gap of 2 levels. Could he break through? To be honest, Lu Ming didn't have the confidence. Sometimes it depended on luck. If he was 2 levels higher and encountered a genius like the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun Empire, it would be difficult for him to win. Lu Ming shook his head and didn't think too much about it. The 3 of them left the arena and walked towards the Star General Hall. Brother Tianyun, are you going to the Dtion auction the day after tomorrow? Ming Peak asked. Of course. Lu Ming smiled. Then let's go together. Call my sister. Ming Peak said. Lu Ming nodded and said, Myongcheng, Ming Peak, you guys go back first. I still have something to do. Alright. Myongcheng and Ming Peak nodded and returned to the Star General Hall. Lu Ming, on the other hand, walked toward the market. The Dtion auction was considered a side business of the Dtion fighting arena. It would not be held frequently. Usually, it would be held once every half a year. However, every time it was held, there would be many precious treasures. Lu Ming was quite tempted. But now, he had less than 200,000 spirit crystals. It was too little. If he encountered a treasure that he liked and didn't have enough spirit crystals to buy it, wouldn't he vomit blood? Therefore, Lu Ming planned to sell all the miscellaneous items that he had with him. Lu Ming had all sorts of refining materials, spirit grasses, pills, spirit weapons, and quite a few cultivation methods and martial techniques piled up into a mountain. Lu Ming didn't have much use for them. He planned to sell them all. After arriving at the market square, Lu Ming walked into the shops one by one, selling a portion of each shop. 3 hours later, Lu Ming sold all the items. More than 300,000 spiritual crystals. Those things were sold for 300,000 spiritual crystals in total. Together with the spiritual crystals he had before, he had almost 500,000 spiritual crystals. 500,000 yuan was more or less enough. After that, Lu Ming returned to the dormitory. The next day, a piece of news spread throughout the imperial capital, and it was spreading like wildfire. The Star General Hall's peerless prodigy, Tianyun, was going to challenge someone 2 ranks above him in the Dtion martial arena. He had hopes of breaking the record of the 6 heroes of the Scorching Sun Empire. The news caused an uproar as soon as it was spread. Challenging the record of the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe? No one had been able to do it in the past few years. Countless people were discussing and guessing. Lu Ming naturally heard the news as well. Lu Ming immediately thought of the Dtion martial arena. This piece of news must have been released by the Dtion martial arena. There was no other reason other than the fact that they wanted more people to spectate the battle 3 days later. That way, how many spiritual crystals could the Dtion martial arena earn? Lu Ming smiled bitterly. This Dtion martial arena was too good at seizing the opportunity to earn money. However, Lu Ming didn't mind. A day passed quickly. The next day, Lu Ming, Ming Chen, Ming Peak, and Pearl walked towards the Dtion auction house together. The Dtion auction house wasn't far from the Dtion martial arena. Young Master Tianyun, You are a VIP. Please follow me to the VIP room. When Lu Ming and the others arrived at the DTON auction house, a beautiful young lady welcomed Lu Ming. VIP room? Lu Ming and the others were stunned. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He guessed that this was the DTON Martial Arena's arrangement. Of course, he wouldn't reject it. The four of them followed the young lady and arrived at a VIP room. The DTON auction house was split into two parts. One was the main hall, where ordinary bidders sat. On the second level above the main hall, there were many VIP rooms that surrounded the main hall. The VIP rooms were elegant and had tea, fruits, and snacks. It was comfortable and peaceful. Those who could enter the VIP rooms represented their status. Lu Ming and the others walked into VIP room number 7. They sat in the VIP room and looked outside through the glass. The main hall was bustling with voices. There were at least 50,000 people. Furthermore, the number of people was still increasing. There are so many people. Ming Peek looked outside excitedly. The treasures later are the most important. Even if we can't afford them, it's still good to broaden our horizons. Pearl smiled. She looked at Lu Ming with a complicated expression. She understood that if it wasn't for Lu Ming, how could the three of them have the qualifications to enter the VIP room? Half a year ago, she had also been here, but she was only in the main hall. After a while, an old man in a white robe walked up to the high platform in front of the main hall. The main hall quietened down. I am Du Ji, the host of this auction. Thank you for coming. Now, the auction officially begins. First, let's welcome the first auction item. The white-robed old man said loudly. Following which, a beautiful lady with graceful curves carried a jade plate. On the jade plate, there was a piece of red metal. Everyone, I'm sure you've already seen that this is a piece of red rock spiritual iron. It's an excellent material for refining level 4 spiritual weapons. Now, the starting price is 10,000 spiritual crystals. Every bid must be at least 1,000 spiritual crystals. Du Ji announced. 10,000 spirit crystals? So expensive. Ming Peek was speechless. This is a material that can be used to refine level 4 spiritual weapons. Of course it's expensive, Pearl said. As soon as Du Ji finished speaking, someone immediately made a bid. I'll pay 11,000 spirit crystals. I'll pay 12,000 spirit crystals. Slowly, the price increased. In the end, it was bought by an old man at 22,000 spirit crystals. Next, there is a bottle of elixir. It is very useful for warriors in the Great Martial Mentor realm. The starting price is 800 spirit crystals. Each bid must be at least 100 spirit crystals. Then, it was time for the second auction item. It was impossible for every item to be as expensive as the first one. It would easily cost tens of thousands of spiritual crystals. Warriors below the martial arts grandmaster realm would not be able to afford it. I'll pay 1,000 spirit crystals. I'll pay 1,100 spirit crystals. Soon, some warriors in the Great Martial Mentor realm began to bid. Lu Ming watched while drinking tea. Lu Ming was not interested in elixirs that could increase the cultivation of Great Martial Mentor realm. This kind of elixir was useful for ordinary warriors, but for him, it was not very useful. It was far less effective than buying monster cores to refine. However, the others were different. They didn't have a heaven-defying bloodline like the spirit-devouring bloodline. Thus, pills that could increase one's cultivation were extremely rare for them. Soon, the price of this bottle of elixir was pushed to 2,000 spirit crystals. 2,100 spirit crystals. Pearl also began to bid. His eyes were full of desire. 2,200 spirit crystals. However, someone immediately added on. 2,300 spirit crystals. 2,500 spirit crystals. The price continued to rise. Chapter 245. 3,000 crystals. Suddenly, a clear voice rang out and spread throughout the hall. Pearl was stunned because the voice belonged to Lu Ming. Lu Ming wants this bottle of pills? Since Lu Ming had made a bid, all the more Mingzhu would not do so. 3,100. In the hall, Someone continued to bid. 4,000 crystals. Lu Ming smiled faintly and increased the price to 4,000 spirit crystals. The hall fell silent. Lu Ming bid without hesitation and increased the bid by 900 crystals. Obviously, he was determined to win. Pearl, Myongcheng, and Ming Peak were also surprised. Although this bottle of elixir was not bad, it was only effective for low-level martial masters. Given Lu Ming's cultivation, it was unlikely to be of much use. He did not know why Lu Ming was so interested in it. Is there anyone else who wants to bid? Du Ji asked. No one bid. Then, Du Ji asked 3 times, but no one bid. This bottle of pills naturally belonged to Lu Ming. After a while, a beautiful girl brought the pills in. Lu Ming took out 4,000 crystals and gave it to the girl. Pearl, this bottle of pills is for you. Lu Ming took the pills and handed them to Pearl. For me. Pearl was stunned. Myongcheng and Ming Peak were also stunned. The pills that Lu Ming bid just now were for Pearl? I saw that you wanted it, so I bid for it and gave it to you. Lu Ming smiled faintly. No, I can't accept such a precious pill. Although Pearl wanted it very much, he still hurriedly refused. You're welcome. It's just a bottle of pills. Lu Ming smiled. Sister, just accept it. Don't waste Brother Tianyun's good intentions. Ming Feng said with a grin. He blinked his eyes at Ming Zhu with all his might. His eyes were filled with an inexplicable smile. Yes, second sister. Just accept it. Myongcheng smiled like a sly old fox. Pearl's face suddenly turned red. No one knew what she was thinking. Her big eyes were watery and her voice was as soft as a mosquito. Thank you, young Master Tianyun. Then, she took the bottle in Lu Ming's hand and her eyes were full of joy. On the side, Myongcheng and Ming Peak grinned. They looked at Lu Ming and Pearl and nodded from time to time. What are you laughing at? Lu Ming looked at the two of them speechlessly. He didn't think too much about it. He just bought it because Pearl wanted it. He didn't ask for a lot of spirit crystals. He just wanted to thank Pearl for helping him when he entered the Star General Hall. The auction continued. One item after another was auctioned off. Some were extremely rare and the price went up to tens of thousands of spirit crystals. Some were only a few hundred spirit crystals. However, Lu Ming was a little disappointed. These items were of no use to him and he wasn't interested in them. Myongcheng and Ming Peak took a fancy to a few items and participated in the auction. Soon, more than 100 items fell into the hands of different people. The next item is the last item of this auction. Of course, it's also the most precious item. At this moment, Du Ji said in a clear voice. The finale item is about to be auctioned. The atmosphere in the auction house suddenly surged. In every auction, there would be a finale item. It was definitely a rare and precious item. Lu Ming was also a little interested. Du Ji smiled in satisfaction when he saw the atmosphere in the auction house rising. He clapped his hands and a young girl walked up with a jade plate. The jade plate was covered with golden silk gauze. It was impossible to see what was inside. If you want to know about this treasure today, you have to know its function. As everyone knows, although the physical body is not the foundation of martial arts practice, it is still an extremely important auxiliary path. Those with a strong physical body not only have strong vitality and amazing recovery ability, but also can greatly enhance the martial arts practitioner's combat strength. There are even many other wonderful uses. Du Ji explained the uses of the physical body. Could it be a treasure that can help in the cultivation of the physical body? Lu Ming's interest was immediately aroused. Many people in the auction house were also looking forward to it. Du Ji smiled and continued, however, the cultivation of the physical body is extremely difficult. It's very slow and exhausting to rely on cultivation techniques to cultivate slowly. However, there are also shortcuts. There are many treasures in the world that can quickly temper the physical body and increase the strength of the physical body in a short period of time. These treasures have different effects. Du Ji didn't seem to be in a hurry and explained slowly. However, the others were holding back and immediately shouted. What kind of treasure is it? Tell us. Yes, what is it? Let's open it and see. Du Ji smiled and continued, if you want to know, It's very simple. I'll ask you a question and you'll know. Among the treasures in the world, what is the treasure that has the greatest effect on the physical body? What treasure has the greatest effect on the physical body? Of course, it's the connate original liquid. Why? You don't have the connate original liquid here, do you? A voice rang out, sounding somewhat incredulous. The auction house suddenly fell silent. Some were shocked, but then they secretly shook their heads. Connate original liquid? How was that possible? It was said that the connate original liquid was a treasure that gathered the essence of the world and was born after millions or even tens of millions of years. Many of the connate original liquid were even born at the beginning of the world. It was very helpful to the physical body and was known as the best in the world. Of course, the connate original liquid was also divided into different grades. According to the different effects, it was divided into 4 grades: low grade, medium grade, high grade, and supreme grade. However, even if it was a low-grade Xiantian origin liquid, it was still a rare and precious treasure. The fire spirit milk that Lu Ming obtained back then could also be used to refine the physical body, but it was trash compared to the connate original liquid. Ha ha ha, this friend is right. This treasure is the connate original liquid. Du Ji laughed out loud. What? This time, the auction house was in an uproar. It was actually the connate original liquid, which exceeded everyone's expectations. How is that possible? It's actually the connate original liquid. Get it, I must get it. Countless people shouted with blazing flames in their eyes. They looked at the tray in the hands of the girl on the high platform and wanted to take it for themselves. In the 7th VIP room, Lu Ming's eyes were also burning. Myung Cheng and his siblings were so shocked that their mouths were wide open. Du Ji was very satisfied with the crowd's reaction. The more enthusiastic the crowd was, the higher the price would be later. Du Ji stretched out his hand and said, "Quiet down first." The auction house suddenly fell silent. Although this treasure is the connate original liquid, it's only the low grade and there's not a lot of it. Du Ji said. Everyone nodded. It was normal that it was the low grade. How could a medium-grade connate original liquid appear in the Burning Sun Empire? Even if it appeared, not many people could afford it. At this moment, Du Ji stretched out his hand and removed the gauze on the tray, revealing a red stone ball. This is the connate original liquid? Chapter 246. Du Ji smiled and explained. The Xiantian original liquid is sealed in this stone orb. There aren't many of them, only 9 drops. 9 drops? That's enough. Someone whispered. On the other hand, there were people who looked excited. The Xiantian original liquid was too precious. If there were too many of them, not many people could afford it. But if there were only 9 drops, they could give it a try. Moreover, even if there were only 9 drops, the effect would be amazing. I'm going to get these 9 drops of Xiantian original liquid. Lu Ming looked at the stone orb with determination. His physical body had been stuck at the perfect grade 2 for a long time. As long as he could get these 9 drops of Xiantian original liquid, his physical body would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. It would be easy for him to break through to the 3rd grade. If that was the case, his battle prowess would have a huge increase. 9 drops of Xiantian original liquid. The elders of the D-Tian fighting ground have studied it and there's no mistake. Alright, let's start the auction. The starting price for each drop of Xiantian original liquid is 10,000 spiritual crystals. The starting price for 9 drops is 90,000 spiritual crystals. Every bid must be at least 5,000 spiritual crystals. Du Ji announced. Seize. Many people gasped and looked dejected. Although they had expected it, they were still shocked when they heard the starting price. 90,000 spiritual crystals was enough to extinguish the fire in their hearts. 100,000 spiritual crystals. Although the price was high, it wasn't something that everyone couldn't afford. Someone immediately made a bid, and it came from a VIP room. From the voice of the 3rd VIP room. He seemed to be very young. 110,000. Immediately after, a rather old voice came from VIP room number 9. 120,000. A voice suddenly sounded in the hall. Everyone looked over and saw a tall and muscular man. 150,000. In VIP room number 3, the young voice sounded, but it was a little cold. 160,000. Immediately after, the 9th VIP room made a bid. In the hall, the muscular man's eyes flickered as he stared at the stone orb on the stage. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. But in the end, he let out a long sigh and gave up. 160,000 spiritual crystals had already exceeded all of his assets. He could only give up. 170,000. The 3rd VIP room continued to raise the price. 180,000. VIP room 9 did not give in at all. At this moment, Lu Ming did not bid. There was no need to bid now. It would be the same if he bid later. VIP room 3 and VIP room 9 were competing with each other. Soon, the price of the Xiantian origin liquid had reached a high of 250,000. At that moment, the voice in VIP room number 3 was incomparably cold. At this moment, there were 5 young men sitting in VIP room 3. However, the expressions of the 5 young men did not look good. Where did this old man come from? He actually dares to compete with senior brother He Qiuming for treasures. He's courting death. A young man with a slightly pale face said with a murderous look. That's right. Looks like he doesn't know that we're disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect. Another person said coldly. Among the 5 people, the one sitting in the middle was a handsome young man in a blue robe. At this moment, his face was very cold. He frowned and looked at VIP room 9. Senior, I'm Qiuming, a disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect. These 9 drops of Xiantian origin liquid are very useful to me. I hope you can give them to me. His words were very polite, but his voice was cold and filled with murderous intent. An extremely powerful aura spread out from VIP room 3. This was clearly a threat. A disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect. Everyone in the hall was shocked. Their eyes were filled with fear. You're from the Qiu family of the 10 Directions sword sect? The old voice came from VIP room 9. There was an old man sitting inside. At this moment, he was filled with fear. That's right. Qiuming replied coldly. Fine, I'll give these 9 drops of Xiantian origin liquid to you young people. The old man in VIP room 9 pondered for a while and finally sighed. The 10 Directions sword sect was definitely a giant in the Blazing Sun Empire. Not many people dared to offend them. The old man's withdrawal made Qiuming smile. 250,000, 250,000. Any higher bids? Du Ji asked as he looked around. This is Xiantian origin liquid. It's extremely rare in the world. In the Blazing Sun Empire, it's extremely useful to the physical body. If you miss this chance, you don't know when you'll get another chance. If you want it, hurry up and bid. 250,000. Are there any higher bids? Du Ji tried his best to tempt the crowd. He was very unhappy with Qiuming's performance just now, so he naturally shouted to his heart's content. This old man. Qiuming gritted his teeth and glared at Du Ji. If looks could kill, Du Ji would have been pierced through. 300,000. Right at this moment, a clear and bright voice suddenly rang out and spread throughout the entire place, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. Someone had bid. After knowing that it was a disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect, he still dared to bid. Who was this person? Everyone's gaze immediately turned towards VIP room 7. That's right. The person who had bid was Lu Ming. Moreover, he increased the price by 50,000, pushing the price to 300,000. 300,000. All right, this friend bids 300,000. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? Du Ji was overjoyed and announced. Bam! In VIP room 3, Qiuming slammed his palm on the table and broke it into pieces. His face was extremely gloomy. Where did this brat come from? How dare he bid when he knows that we're disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect? Is he courting death? The pale young man roared and his voice echoed throughout the hall. I bid 300,000 spiritual crystals. Are you going to bid or not? Lu Ming curled his lips and said calmly. You're courting death. Qiuming finally couldn't take it anymore and shouted coldly. Brat, I'll give you 5 breaths to withdraw your bid. Otherwise, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. If you have the money, pay up. If you don't, why are you still here? Scram. This was Lu Ming's reply. It was overbearing and domineering. The entire auction hall was shocked. This mysterious person was so overbearing that he even asked the 10 Directions sword sect to scram? Xiaoming's face turned pale. A powerful aura spread out and shrouded VIP room 7. Brat, I'll kill you now. Xiaoming roared. You can try me. Lu Ming replied in a domineering manner. Although Du Ji's cultivation was at the 8th grade martial master realm, why would Lu Ming be afraid of him? Die! Xiaoming roared as he walked out of the VIP room and was about to head to VIP room 3. How dare you! Suddenly, Du Ji furiously roared, and an extremely terrifying aura exploded out, crushing down on Xiaoming's body like a mountain. Xiaoming's body trembled, and he was unable to move. Martial Ancestor Realm. This is the aura of a martial ancestor realm. The entire hall was shocked. They didn't expect Du Ji, who looked so friendly, to be a martial ancestor realm expert. Old man, what are you doing? Are you courting death? I'm a disciple of the 10 Directions sword sect. Xiaoming roared. What bullshit 10 Directions sword sect? How dare you cause trouble at the DTON auction hall? Die! You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.